Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Suriel Vasquez.
Auf Wiedersehen.
And we have JV Gwaltney.
Bonjour.
Wow, very beautiful. A hell of a show this week. We're talking about Wolfenstein.
Youngblood.
And then Fire Emblem Three Houses. Finally, the review talk, hopefully from Kim. I guess I haven't talked to her about it yet, but I assume we can drag her down here. Yeah. Let's see. And then Trails of Cold Steel 3, which is another RPG she's excited about. Imran has played Oninaki, which is a free demo of right now. He's excited to talk about that. I think the lore seems bizarre and interesting. Hopefully, we'll get Dan and Elise down here to talk about Blair Witch. By the way, just for a point of reference, I say down here. I bet that's very confusing for everybody. Our podcast studio and the replay studio and stuff, it's one floor below where everybody sits. So if we ever say down here, that's what we mean.
Yeah, we mean actually coming down here to hell.
Yes, straight to the bowels of hell, which in this episode is going to be represented by a discussion about Assassin's Creed Odyssey's DLC with Joe Juba. Welcome to hell, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. In case you were wondering, there's no sunlight coming in. That's just a wall back there that we just happened to put blinds on.
Yeah, very smart. That's true. That would be fun someday, actually, to like open those blinds and like rip down the Duvetine curtain and just have like blinding sunlight coming through. That'd really mess
Fun's
with
a weird
You
term for
have
that.
very weird ideas about fun.
Anything that F's with a video in a subtle way, I consider fun.
Make the show better.
Lord.
Yeah, exactly. And then fun community emails. This is actually a really good batch. I was really amazed by some very creative emails in there. And then back half of the show, an interview with Dave Kurd, who is the world art director for PUBG out in Madison. And so we kind of walk through their visually updating, as they put it, the classic original map for PUBG, kind of giving it a little bit of a remaster treatment at this point with the new season. And so we just talk through overall map design for PUBG, what that looks like to update it. I try to get him to talk about injecting story-focused Easter eggs in there, and it is a hassle to get him to say one word about it, but you can listen to the interview and find out for yourself.
Maybe it's just like some nostalgic nerdiness, but I always get excited about texture updates because of like Half-Life got that one texture update with Blue Shift where they just made the game look so much better by like 2001 standards. And I remember being a kid going, this is the greatest thing ever.
And then you realized that was actually Half-Life 3.
That's right.
Because we're never getting anything else.
Beautiful texture. Let's see. How's your guys' week going so far?
Good. Lots of killing Nazis. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I bet. So Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Yeah.
We got this thing in, and JV, I believe you turned out a review and beat the game. It felt like the blink of an eye, but how long is this thing?
It took me about 10 hours.
Okay.
Of the main storyline, but it's much bigger than that. Like, it's just like, if you just play through and don't do any of the side mission stuff or the post-game content, and there's a lot of it.
Really?
Yeah, because I think the biggest difference outside of like leaning towards like loot shooter, spongy enemy sort of stuff, which we can talk about later. It's not as bad as it sounds.
Okay.
Is that Arcane co-developed this? So the creators of Dishonored co-developed this, and
it's technically Leon, right? So Dishonored 2's team.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't, and it's not just like they did a bunch of grunt work. Like the previous Wolfensteins are basically like linear from A to Z tunnel kind of setup, and this is more like open world hubs like Dishonored and like Deus Ex.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Paris and Wolfenstein Youngblood isn't, it's not quite as interesting as Karnaka or Dunwall. But for Wolfenstein, it's kind of a big deal. Like just being able to like go to a lot of places and have a lot of free activity. A lot of
open windows where it's like, I can go. I can either go around or I can just climb in the window and come out the other side really quickly.
And it's like chocked to the brim with secrets and upgrades and stuff.
Oh, that's great.
And there are missions, like side missions you can take and go out and do. And it's not just like, a city. There's like also like multiple underground bases to infiltrate beneath the city and sewers and stuff. It's really big. For Wolfenstein, it's huge.
All right, a little bit of table setting for folks. JV, Wolfenstein's one of your favorite series of all time, yes? You've played through those previous games dozens of times?
Yeah.
Okay, an absurd amount of time. And also table setting, what score did you give Youngblood?
8.5.
8.5. I feel like you were pessimistic about it every other time you've seen it. So what turned you around?
Yeah,
what surprised you?
it was a really bad demo.
Okay.
It's probably the worst like demo I've played outside of like Spec Ops: The Line. I remember they released a demo for that, which was stupid. Why would you release a demo for such a story-based game?
Aren't these shooting mechanics cool? Like, not really.
Yeah. The problem with the Wolfenstein demo at E3 that we played is it's just the first level, and I think they hadn't tweaked it yet, so it was just an uphill battle where you have no abilities against spongy enemies, and you're just dying constantly. My partner wasn't that great at the game. And it was just they showed off the worst part of this game. Like we didn't get to play any of the open world hub area stuff where Arcane's influence goes in. We didn't get to see any of like the really skill tree stuff or the weapon upgrade stuff.
So everything was a pleasant surprise then when you got into the actual game. It's like, oh, this feels open and interesting.
Yeah, and it plays more like, even though like their enemies do have like health bars and levels and stuff, it does play more like traditional Wolfenstein. Like once you get to like the level 5, which you level up so fast in this game. Like I had Suriel in my game at one point, and
because it is co-op. I guess we haven't fully dual.
Yeah, it's co-op.
But yeah.
And he went from like 5 to level
like
18 or 20 within the hour that he was playing with me.
Oh,
Just because you were so much higher level than I was.
Yeah, and but the game like puts you on the same level as like the host.
Yeah.
So he got to reap the benefits without having to deal with that, oh, I'm constantly dying sort of thing that you have to deal with in like the Division or something.
Okay.
Or Destiny, I guess, because the Division does a catch-up mechanic.
Yeah, the first level is kind of a weird, I think, just because it feels like, oh, this is just another Wolfenstein game. And then basically immediately after that, you're kind of thrown into the catacombs, which is your base of operations. And then it becomes like sort of like a loot shooter in that like the structure is that you go around to different quest givers basically and get missions from them. And then you can tackle whatever missions you want at your leisure.
In any order.
Yeah.
And the missions are cool too because like if you choose to do the side missions, there's basically like 4 big missions that are called raids, but they're not really raids. You just go and you fight a big boss.
They're just like they're more like regular levels.
Like regular
where
Wolfenstein
they're more
levels.
linear.
Okay.
But if you take your time and you do the side missions, you can find shortcuts for those main missions that like, oh, I don't have to storm the front gate. I can sneak in and like basically enter the mission during like the 3rd stage and cut down on time, which is super cool.
And you are going to want to do a lot of those because you do a lot of backtracking in this game where you're running through the same areas over and over again. And so having those shortcuts free up a lot of time that you would otherwise use running like the same exact path over and over again. And it benefits, like you benefit from exploring a lot more. So I think if you tackle it as like, okay, I get the marker, I'm going to try to, they don't mark like, they don't do the thing where it's like, now you go here, now you go here, now you go here. It's like your destination is 110 meters away and you have to find like what path you're supposed to take to it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So the more shortcuts you have, the easier that is. But if you approach it as like, I'm making a beeline to the objective, you're not going to get as much out of that map as you would otherwise, because a lot of the fun is in finding like those secrets. So if you approach it like a Wolfenstein game where you're just sort of running from A to B, you're probably going to get frustrated of like, oh, I'm running these paths over and over again.
Right.
And you'll also be super underleveled for those fights too, because like those are set levels. You know, like the last boss fight, you should be like level 35 or something.
Dumb question. Did the previous Wolfenstein games have levels?
No.
Okay.
It was just, it played more like Half-Life.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Halo.
It's weird because like I don't feel like I'm not thinking about levels specifically too much. It's just it feels like it's a relative thing where it's like, okay, this heavily armored guy, he's like 3 levels above you, so like be on your like guard and don't just think he's another fodder enemy. And I think the other cool thing that I actually like, because a lot of it feels like they're trying to make Wolfenstein's gameplay like infinitely repeatable, which isn't what I want out of a Wolfenstein game. Because like the best part of Wolfenstein 2 for me was the story.
Yeah.
So this feels like they're kind of pivoting in a direction that I'm not super interested in. But
in theory for Wolfenstein 3, right? Kind of like a test case.
But it's like an improvement, but it's like they're not improving on the things that I want. But I do like the switch to the armor system where different enemies have different kinds of armor, and it's not like super complicated either. They basically have like filled white squares or like hollow white squares, and so you have ammo types that are like, okay, the pistol is like hollow and the shotgun is like full square, and that's really all you have to memorize. So if you're basically matching like, okay, this enemy has this over their health bar, I need to switch to this weapon. So it's like sort of like Destiny's elemental thing where it's like, okay, it's either lightning, void, or solar, but with one less thing to worry about. So it's kind of an interesting thing of like, oh, I can't just use the assault rifle on every enemy I come across. You have to switch it up if you want to be effective.
Yeah.
And that part I think is really cool.
Do you like the game overall, Suriel?
I like the game overall. Like I do sort of miss the emphasis on story. Like so far I've seen like maybe that first mission feels like it's super heavy on the story relative to the rest of the game, it feels like. I don't know, JV, you've beaten the game, so it feels like...
Yeah, expect like no story no story that you're actually interested in between like the beginning and end, basically. Okay. Like the meat of the game is that's like the one thing I'm not necessarily in love with, but I also don't mind it at the same time because I know this isn't Wolfenstein 3. This is a side chapter.
Right. It's a confusing thing where it's a side chapter, but it's also how many years in the future?
It's 20 years in the future, and I don't want to get too into it, but the game's ending does sort of like touch on that in a way that's interesting.
That constrains Wolfenstein 3 or opens up the potential for Wolfenstein 3?
Opens up the potential for.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, we know Wolfenstein 3 is coming. Like, Bethesda has said so.
Have they said whether or not this takes place, like, have they confirmed, like, this takes place after Wolfenstein 3, or they haven't said anything?
They have not said anything at all, and the thing that happens in the game muddies that even more.
So it could
interesting.
take place after this, potentially. Like, Wolfenstein 3 could take place after this game.
It could take place. Wolfenstein 3 could take place after, before this, or at both. Like in a Godfather 2 kind of setup with what they have. And I won't go too into it, but it's super interesting.
Sure. What are you rooting for at this point?
I think they it's really hard to like say anything without like spoiling stuff, but I really like the Godfather 2 path of like having the best of both worlds of like, here's some old Wolfenstein, here's some new Wolfenstein.
Right.
Yeah.
It's weird because like I'm kind of interested in like, you know, the whole premise is that BJ is missing, right? And at this point, he'd be like a pretty old guy.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting because like I feel like part of the premise of 2 was my body is deteriorating. Like I don't like, and he. So it's like, oh, I'm running out of time. So it feels like to have that premise again in the third one, where it's like, oh, now I'm just really old.
I did run out of time.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. But yeah, it's interesting. It ends on an interesting note, and I think that's why it keeps it from being like a total story bummer for me. It's like there are interesting like breadcrumbs there. You know, it doesn't really like. I was worried that they would spoil a whole lot of like what happened in the years between like 2 and Youngblood, but it really doesn't. Like, I don't really have a clear idea of what happened to most of the cast. I don't really know the specifics of what happened.
And in a weird way, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It's like the difference between like, you know, when you see like the original Star Wars trilogy and they like talk about all these vague things that happened in the prequels, but they don't really like, you don't really know what happened in the prequels.
The Clone Wars, I guess, sound cool.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing.
Yeah. How are the daughters?
They're goofballs and they don't really have like a character arc. They're likable. They're like, especially if like you got tired of BJ sort of like doing his melancholy, weird beatnik poetry stream of consciousness.
They're super excitable comparatively.
They're huge dorks and cornballs and generally likable, but they don't grow as people.
So they're dorks who love killing.
Yeah. They're like Soph is like very broy. She has like a little bit of a draw. She's constantly like, oh yeah. And then versus like Jess, who feels like I've just started calling her Violent Velma. Yeah. Where she's a little bit more nerdy, but they have this like really interesting shtick where I guess they read like Kenneth and Arthur novels, which are like a thing in their world, and so they just refer to each other as Kenneth and Arthur, and they do bits for like impersonating those characters.
Oh, somebody upset that you have to play as a woman. You're kind of playing as a Kenneth and Arthur. So.
Yeah, that's right. But they're like really like these characters are really like posh British people, so they'll do these like accents basically as you're playing around with them, and so they're palling around and quipping as you're playing the game, and that's the most story I've gotten so far.
Yeah.
And that feels like, that's fun enough.
It's basically like the whole tone of the game to me is Nancy Drew Nazi Killer. Is like, if you had to describe Youngblood as like, what is this whole vibe of this game? That's what it is.
So it's like a mystery?
A little parts of it, but it's mostly like just like, you know, a bunch of teenage women killing a bunch of people but having a happy-go-lucky time while doing it.
This might be a spoiler, so don't answer it if it is.
Okay.
Is Mecha Hitler in this game?
I think I can answer that out of the gate because they've revealed content about this, but no, Mecha Hitler is not in this game.
But there are a lot of mecha Nazis and stuff.
There are a lot of
mecha.
mecha. There's a lot of mecha.
Yeah.
A lot of mecha.
There's a lot of mecha.
Okay, great. Everyone's coming for the mecha.
Yeah.
All right, that seems fun. Like enemies you're fighting, anything really interesting there?
Yeah, there is a lot more variety to enemies than even in like the new Colossus, which I felt did a pretty good job of like adding more enemies. Because in the New Order, there were like 3 infantry enemies that you fought in addition to like 2 robots. You didn't really fight like a lot of variety, but here you've got like all kinds of Nazis. You've got silent assassin Nazis with like who just sneak around. You got flamethrower Nazis. You got meta. What is the word?
The Terminator
Nazis.
robots?
No. Yes, Nazis. The medics. You got medic Nazis that will like heal other Nazis. Yeah. So you know, it's a lot of Nazis. A lot of enemies.
Yeah, there are basically robots that look like Terminator robots.
And really?
There are robot dogs with bombs strapped to their chests.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and like the towering robot nightmare from New Colossus, which is huge, returns, and you have to fight that quite a bit. Yeah,
that seems fun.
So there's a lot of enemy types.
So if you like the gameplay of New Colossus, this is sort of like, hey, here's a bunch more of that with some improvements. But if you're coming for the story, it's a side story, so don't have huge expectations on that front.
I also think like it's a weird thing because I don't want to say it's like a good entry point, but also at the same time, like if you grew up and you really liked playing Halo co-op, like doing those campaigns with a friend, and you've missed that sort of experience.
Yeah, totally.
This is a pretty good analog to that. Like,
and you won't be too confused.
Yeah, and you know, like, oh, this thing happened. Okay, got it. And then you might get interested in the story and want to go back and like play games, but like you could come to this with generally like nothing beyond the idea of like Wolfenstein is a game about killing Nazis.
How much is this thing?
It's like, well, the standard edition is $29.99, but there's also like a $39 edition, the deluxe edition, where you get an extra copy of the game that you can give to someone that they can only play when they're playing with you, but you can also give that copy to that same copy to someone else down the road. So like, let's say like I buy this version of the game, I give you like the buddy pass version, we play through it together, we finish it, you're never going to play it again. I can give that buddy pass to someone else.
That's confusing.
Yeah,
that's a tough thing to message.
It's basically a way to play co-op with anyone, regardless of whether or not they have a copy.
Right. That's interesting. That seems cool.
I'm really interested to see how it turns out in the wild.
Yeah, for sure. And is it on Switch?
Yep, it's on Switch.
Like day one on Switch?
Day one.
Wow. Did you play that version at all?
No.
Okay.
That's the one I'm going to buy to play with my partner. So I'm interested to see how that goes.
Oh, boy. Would you play?
Like the Wolfenstein 2 port was actually really good. Like I was dreading that, but it was better. It was a better port than like the Doom port was. Mm-hmm. They got most of it right. As long as you didn't look too closely at characters' faces, it was a good time.
Yeah, play in a handheld mode and keep it far away.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, all right, that seems good.
Yeah.
Cool. Youngblood. Hey, they did it. Congratulations. There we go.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Sweet. You know what else is a good game? Let's find out after you clap. Imran Khan.
Howdy.
Welcome. Skyping in from San Francisco. You're our West Coast news editor?
I am, yes, West Coast news editor.
Why isn't it just called news editor?
I don't know, and I've brought this up before, and at some point I want to get that actually changed.
It'd be nice, because it's confusing, because it implies that we're going to hire like a Southern news editor, an Eastern news editor, a Far East news editor.
Yeah, usually I just hope when people ask me, like, oh yeah, I'm just news director. It's fine. Like,
oh yeah, that's
don't assume it's only West Coast news. It's all news.
Yeah, it's like the West Coast Avengers. I think exactly how it works. But we also have Kim Wallace here.
Hey.
Speaking of the Avenger herself, Captain Marvel, wonderful shirt. Would you? Here's the thing. I was, I know it's super tight on time, but F it. I haven't watched a lot of Endgame clips recently. Not spoiling anything. But it's weird, and maybe I'm up in my head realizing that for Brie Larson's performance in Endgame, she had to perform the character of Captain Marvel before the film Captain Marvel was even written. And so I think because of that, she just is really flat in that movie.
I did not even think about that.
And she's so flat, and she's a little bit more fun and dynamic interactional movie. But I wonder if because of that kind of flat performance, she felt like she had to mirror that by the time her own movie was up and running. Is that thinking too much about Captain Marvel's performance?
I don't know if she had to mirror it, but it was definitely the reason why she was kind of flat in Endgame and why she wasn't in that movie that much.
Right. Yeah, it's an impossible situation to put an actress. Good God. But hey, Fire on the Three Houses.
Hey.
We talked about it last week, and now you have a final review score.
Yes, of a 9.5.
9.5. Did you know this, Imran?
Yeah, Kim mentioned it the other day. I was thinking of puns for like the last 2 days. Best one I can come up with is critical hit.
Okay. What's the review headline, Kim?
Head of the class.
All right. That's good.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there.
It's getting there.
Okay, so we talked about it a lot last week.
Yeah.
Okay, without spoilers,
Yes.
like just finishing off the game, spending, I'm sure, dozens more hours with it. How have your opinions evolved, shifted? What do you appreciate more,
I
less?
started to appreciate just how different the different branching paths can go in the end. I had a friend who did a completely different house than me, and we faced different final bosses. We had very different things happen in our storylines. I think I got the better one personally, but
And which house did you choose?
Edelgard with the Black Eagles.
Okay.
Go with that. I feel like she has, from what I know, she's the only one I've played to completion. I'm like halfway through Claude's. I love the game so much, I immediately loaded up and did another house because so I'm halfway through that. Because I had to see how different it was. Because it's just like, wow, they really did go here. Very ambitious with the paths. And the final battle is freaking awesome because you just have all these enemies across the screen and you're like, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to do it? But you can do it.
Is there a Plus game or anything?
New Game Plus, yes.
I've
started a New Game Plus, that's right. So what you can do is your points as a professor, you can... those can carry over, and you have these statues too that you level up that give you better proficiency in certain weapons, and that carries over. So yeah, you do have some stuff that carries over. It's not like a lot of bonus things, but it's enough.
Okay, like keep going. How many hours to finish this thing roughly?
Okay, so my first play, like the playthrough I did was 55 hours I finished in.
Okay.
So I think, and I spent a lot of time talking to people because I feel like after you should do this if you've had any Persona experience or any kind of social game, you know that you need to talk to people to get your relationships up. It's important. So I felt like I was pretty thorough and did 55. I could see where people might end up more in the 60-ish range, but I don't think they'll go that far. I did all the side quests too that were like offered every time I went in too, I should say that. So I didn't skip any of those.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of hardcore fans that don't worship Awakening as a lot of other people, but I think there is going to be a sizable chunk of the audience that played Awakening, didn't get around to Fates, and are jumping into this one. What do you think is going to be like the most striking thing or like the most jarring transition going from Awakening to this one?
I think it's just because they went all in with the social stuff. I think the school setup just goes really well into what Fire Emblem has always been about, which is like, you know, maintaining your soldiers and caring about the characters on the battlefield. I feel like this one is a good starting point for newcomers. You know, you can turn off permadeath if you want. You also have a mechanic that lets you turn back the hand of time in battle, so you don't have to start all over if you miss them. Yeah, that's limited use in battle, but as you go on, you get to use it more and more. So there are some good things in there for people. I feel also that probably since Awaken, just the social stuff in general is really good. Like, I was actually able to see how the romances played out, which I thought was very weird and interesting.
Weird?
Well, because, I mean, you're their teacher. And then at the end...
So you do romance the hell out of these kids? Okay.
At the end, you get to pick who to give your ring to.
Cute. Imran, you going to play this one?
I'm definitely going to play it. I don't know when I'm going to have time for it because I want to see all the houses because they all sound like what Kim's saying. They have different final bosses and stories. Like that made me kind of internally groan because I'm like, oh man, I want to see all of these, but I can't.
Yeah.
Like there's just not that much time.
But you just get so addicted once you start playing. Like even for me, I didn't expect myself to go through it as fast as I did. And also like the fact that I've started another house and just like, I'm now halfway through.
And it doesn't feel too redundant?
No, because each house has like a different cast, I would say, with it of students, and all of them kind of have their own things that they're going through. And I don't feel like you're going to be with your house and you're probably going to like whatever house you pick by the cast, because I think all of them have interesting things. Now doing it, like playing through another one, I'm like, okay, this, I could see why this is. But I think story-wise, I feel like Edelgard's the way to go. Okay. I'm going to put it out there.
I have a feeling whatever anybody chooses is going to be the one that they say definitively is the way to go.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
How is the overall story, by the way? Like, I know because Fates was not great in terms of overarching story.
You know, I feel like they do a good job kind of with the political stuff of everybody's going to feel like they know what's best for the world. And I think with the three leaders, they're able to do very different takes. So you have one who's more neutral, one who's really benefited from the way things are and wouldn't want them to change, and another who would like to enact change. And I think it's very cool to kind of watch what those characters will do to achieve their goals, because I could see some of the twists coming, but the twists were still good because of the relationships that I built and just seeing how that played out. You know, a big part of this game, too, is like you're going to make some enemies along the way with people that you've kind of bonded with or you've been seen around school. So it's good to kind of get those moments of betrayals. It really sounds like a suikoden game in a way.
Interesting.
Well, my playthrough anyways with Edelgard.
Yeah.
So.
Is it going to be your game of the year, realistically, here?
This is hard. This is going to be a very tough decision because it's between that and Kingdom Hearts 3.
Ain't seemed tough to me.
Wow. That's because you don't appreciate the KH love, but that's okay. Everybody has their own thing. I feel like I got a little more into this than I expected. And I feel like it's probably the game that's been the hardest for me to put down this year. Like I had to keep playing. I didn't want to take breaks, and that's a great feeling when you're reviewing a game. Trust me. Like,
yeah, if you're just listening to the audio, Kim's fingernails are about 6 inches long at this point. She hasn't bathed in weeks.
Oh, God.
It's a wonderful thing. Your full review is on the site, right?
Yes, it is now on the site. You
Very
can
exciting.
read it. 9.5.
9.5. Very exciting. Oninaki?
Oninaki, which is the new Tokyo RPG Factory game.
Okay. I feel like Tokyo RPG Factory, everything's in the name, and I don't know if I've ever rooted for a studio harder. It's like every ingredient there sounds great. Factories, awesome. But everything they've released, I Am Setsuna, I think Joe gave it a 7.5, and then you reviewed their last one, Lost Sphere,
which is like in the 6s
is a
somewhere.
6.5.
It was not great.
Yeah. Oninaki, how are you feeling about this, Imran? How much have you had to play?
So I played about the original demo. I played, I think, about an hour, and then I played the demo they released on like PlayStation 4 and Switch and PC today for about 2 hours.
Yeah, and that's the very beginning of the game, and the save transfers. So if you want to check this game out, especially on Switch, it seems like a no-brainer.
It's worth it.
So I'm not sure I prefer the Switch version because I played the original demo on Switch and there's a lot of frame rate drops and PS4 doesn't seem to have that. But regardless of which way you play it, I think the concept of the game is super cool.
Concept. Okay, let's dive into that first because my biggest problem starting I Am Setsuna is everything just felt so redundant again, where it's just like, okay, the gameplay, I love Chrono Trigger, but pretty close to that. I should be excited about that. But then the story itself, it just felt like Final Fantasy X all over again.
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
never made it their own in any way.
Right.
And that kind of came through. And then with Lost Sphere,
yeah. But this time around, what has you excited about the setup here, Imran?
So they have an entirely original story, and when I say original, I mean I've not seen it in many, anything like this in RPGs before.
Yeah.
But it's a society that is entirely casual about death, that they know reincarnation happens for a fact, and they can guide it, and they can make sure that somebody who dies will eventually reincarnate into something else. Like, it's not clear whether or not they have knowledge of their past lives or whatever, but the game does a good job of diving into the societal aspects of what a culture like this would be. So the opening sequence has people just sort of talking, and there's a woman who says, "Oh, well, my mother's dying, and she's dying very painfully. So the government is offering us money to just let her die, assist her suicide." And
this is really
that seems
dark.
like the best course of action.
Oh yeah, within the first 20 minutes, there's a dead kid that's lost, and he wants to see his parents again. It's not a oppressively dark game, but when you look at what actually the story's presenting, it's like, oh, good God.
Yeah, there's a one couple that the guy clearly is more into the girl than she is to him. So he's like, "Hey, I gave you this necklace so we can find each other in the afterlife." And she's like, "Oh, well, that's not the kind of thing of hey, I want to go get pizza. Do you want to?" No, I'm busy. It's that sort of thing. They treat it that casually, and it's so fascinating because it's death. It is the most permanent state possible. And
I heard there's a
everyone
rewind
just
function in
because
Fire Emblem, but
yeah. Well, they have such bureaucracy around it too that there's a suicide cult that believes that they can get everyone together and you can stay with your family if you die, and that's fine. They have no problem with this. It's just you don't if they're not doing it through the proper channels, there's no guarantee they'll cross over. So that's what the government has an issue with.
And in the beginning of the game, I played a little bit of the demo last night. I like that they're setting up the idea that there's some sort of penalty in this world if you die with regrets. It feels a little bit like defending your life, if you remember that Albert Brooks movie. But what's the idea? If you die with regrets, you're a lost soul? Is that how it works?
You're a lost soul and you won't be able to cross over, which, if you're a warrior, you kind of end up as one of the demons, which kind of flows into the gameplay part of it, where you become an extra power for somebody, basically.
You become a Pokemon, yeah.
It's creeping me out.
Yeah. But like for other people, it's just like in the cult thing, there was a kid who didn't cross over because he couldn't find the cult leader. And so the idea is, oh, well, maybe the cult leader crossed over already, so, or maybe he's actually just like a fraudster. So the main character, Kagachi, agrees to take the kid with him to go see, like, we'll either find him or he'll cross over and you can just go. But it's important they do that because if you have too many lost souls, they start turning into monsters, and that becomes an issue for other, like, actual society. And also, there's a bit of reference at the beginning of a monster that seems to just eat souls, and if that happens, your soul is just gone. No more reincarnation cycle, nothing.
Weird. And actually, gameplay-wise, it ties in because you can kind of shift light world, dark world style. You can shift into the afterlife at any point, but there's like certain checkpoints where you should unlock it. Otherwise, every hit is one hit kill in the afterlife. I was very confused about that system, Imran.
Yeah, I haven't figured out exactly what that is. I know your defense lowers if you're in a zone too long and fighting alongside one demon or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
Like, that will decrease your defense quite a bit. But I couldn't figure out what I guess it's because early on it blocks places for you, but it doesn't actually like do anything to you in terms of battle.
Yeah.
So it might be a thing of later on in later dungeons you need to keep switching, otherwise you're going to end up screwing yourself a little bit.
In first blush, it seems like a pretty basic action RPG. Like playing it, it's like, okay, this feels almost like Secret of Mana level complexity. But then towards the end of the demo, I felt like they were layering more systems. And it's like, okay, maybe there is more progression here with each individual daemon along the way than you'd expect.
Right, and like if you go down the skill tree, if you like look at it, there's things in there that are like be able to cancel your sword strikes with a dodge, which would make that game feel so much better.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
In terms of just like being able to combo and being able to get out of it. So I don't know why they're locking that away in a skill tree, but it does mean that later on in the game it'll probably feel a lot better to play.
Yeah, because the dodge right now, it does feel a little bit slow. Like every time I was trying to use it, it's just like 1 or 2 beats of a delay where it's like, God, I wish this was snappier.
Yeah. And not every daemon has a dodge. Some like will have a jump for aerial attacks. And
yeah.
Like the first one has a dodge, which when I stuck to her for a long time, but sometimes you can really use that power, especially when you do like the I forget exactly what it's called, like the fusion kind of technique of pairing with a demon when you're at like high compatibility.
Yeah.
Because you can just destroy bosses that way.
Hang on, am I feeling this correctly? Are you getting hyped for Oninaki, Imran?
I am surprised. I went into that demo appointment like not thinking anything of it, because I didn't like I Am Setsuna, I didn't like Lost Sphere, but like this one I came away very excited, and I ended up like asking them like, hey, is Takashi Tokino working on this? Like actually, like, because he was producer for the last 2 games. He is one of the co-directors of Chrono Trigger and like director of Parasite Eve.
Yeah, Kim and I met him in Japan, remember?
Yeah.
We talked about the Chrono Trigger movie and all that stuff and whether or not that's going to happen.
Yeah, apparently he is much more hands-on with this game. He apparently wrote the script, and also the writer of Fantasy Life is on the game. So that's why this one seems a bit different. This one seems like they're actually trying for something more than just a Chrono Trigger successor. Right. They are trying to make a new game that is interesting.
And Tokuda apparently has consulted for Lost Sphere and I Am Setsuna, but with this one, yeah, his role, I don't think I've ever heard before in the game industry. He's a creative producer, technically, for this. It's like, What the hell does that even mean? Is it just that marketing beat of like, no, seriously, this time Chrono Trigger co-director is super duper helping out. It's a tough message, but I understand you have to have something to get people interested in a Tokyo RPG Factory game at this point.
Right. I think this time he's in world building and writing the story.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
From
the person who wrote, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I really want them to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
I've been rooting for them, and it's like every time I play one of the last 2 games, I've been like, God damn it, can you just? And if this is, it's possible now. But yeah, I'm rooting for them to get this one right.
Yeah,
I will say it is very clearly a budget title, so don't go in expecting a lot from it.
Right.
But it is like they reuse character models like crazy. There's no English dub, which can be kind of annoying because characters talk outside of battle a lot, and there's no subtitles for it. So
I think that's kind of charming.
Without the Japanese knowledge, it can be kind of confusing.
For sure, but like when you shift in and out of like the afterlife and what do you call the current life? But like they say something in Japanese and you don't know what it is. But I think that's kind of cool. I feel like fans of RPGs in general, it's almost a charming aspect just to have certain things be only in Japanese. But Oninaki coming out August 22nd, is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the demo is available on everything that has a computer in it. Also, Trails of Cold Steel 3, Kim?
Yes, I played over 5 hours of this game last week. And I have been like pushing people for this series. It's by Nihon Falcom, who does the Ys series, but this is like their turn-based RPG. It also has the school setup, Fire Emblem, Trails of Cold Steel, like.
And I think I played the first one of the series. Even that had the school thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So the school thing has been going on for the last few entries, and we're coming off the second game, which both of them are now remastered, by the way. So if you haven't played Trails of Cold Steel, they're now remastered for the PS4. Go do it before the third one comes out, because it was just announced that there's like a month delay in the game. So now it's coming out October 22nd before it was
which is just for business reasons, because like there's way too many things in September.
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. So we are coming off the last game. We ended a civil war, and now main character, still the same main character, Reen. He shows up at a. He's graduated from the Thor's military academy, and now he's the teacher. He's a professor, but he kind of gets there for the first day and realizes it's this branch of the academy is for like outcasts and misfits.
Oh, that's great
And
for
then
pillaging for future boyfriends and girlfriends.
He only ends up with 3 students in his class to begin with. And, it's him trying to take on that role of professor. Obviously, in the past games, that was done by Sarah, the teacher who loved to drink. So there's a lot of humor in this. I feel like this series is just so charming. It's like if you want kind of that classic feel, but like Falcom does a really good job of having modern mechanics going through it where it doesn't feel like that. Like even if you say, you're on a hard boss and you're like, I just don't want to grind here, you can choose just to put down the difficulty of the boss. So you wouldn't
like
have
an
to,
individual basis?
Yeah, so you don't have
that's awesome.
you don't have to grind or anything. I feel like they do good with like modern conveniences, but yeah, the series is fun with the school setup. There's obviously, you have your bonding points and you can socialize with your, I guess, again, with your students, which was not what it was in the previous games. But the cool thing about this is if you've played the first 2 games, and this is why I say remaster them if you want to go in, there's a lot of fun callbacks, and it's a big reunion. You get to see now what, as this previous class 7 has graduated, like what they're all up to now.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so it's like all of a sudden you'll just spot someone on the screen. And also, if you are a big Falcom fan and played like Trails in the Sky and their past Trails games, there's a lot of cameos there with characters that have never been voiced before in the series. And
Interesting.
just like, so if you're a fan, you'll catch all that stuff. And even if you're not, you still can follow kind of what's going on. But
Yeah.
I felt good about what I played. There's this new thing called Brave Order, which you build up as you battle enemies, and each character has their own, and you use it in battle so it can like drastically reduce damage that's done to you, or it can be like a special attack. It can heal you over time for some, like every character has a different one. Anyways, I played a boss battle and got my butt kicked because I was like, oh, it's too early in the game to be depending so much on a mechanic.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking. And then I was like, nope, I have to turn, because this one boss, every time he'd hit me, it would do defense down on my characters, and just it kept adding up. So I had to do the offset to block it with this Brave Order that drastically reduced the damage.
All right.
So yeah, there's tactical, like what I like about the turn-based battle system is placement matters. You have, like I said, you can link characters, so then they're more likely to step in front of attacks for you and counterattack. Like there's a lot to it for people who like that classic turn-based battle system and feel like I don't want something where I'm just like spamming a button. Definitely play this. This is it.
So after you enjoy Three Houses, probably by the time you're wrapping that game up, then Trails of Cold Steel 3 will be coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to, I don't know, I hated school growing up, but I guess I like it in video games.
We're all secretly very nostalgic.
Here we are.
Is there a preview on the site or NGT or anything for that?
That's all coming next week.
Next week. Okay, very exciting. Do you guys want to clap on out of here?
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Dan Tack? Is that you, my brother?
I am here.
Oh my God. Grace us with your wise words.
That's what I'm here to do.
And
what are we talking
They
about?
go a little something like,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Game Informer Show.
hey, that's great. And Elise Favis.
Hi.
Also wise.
Yes, very
but in your
wise,
own
I
way.
think. Like an owl.
I really think you're wise because you can speak
dear.
French, which is very impressive.
That makes me wise.
Speaking more than one language, anybody in the office that can do that, they're automatically smarter than anybody else. Maybe Margaret has you beat in production, but automatically you're just smarter overall.
Does Margaret know several languages?
No, I'm just saying her raw horsepower intellect in one language crushes everybody else.
Understood.
Right, but everybody else is still looking pretty good. And also, you're world traveled. Like you just spent a lot of time in France
Yeah.
And you can speak French in Paris?
Yes.
Nobody else can do that. That's incredible.
Nobody.
Well,
Not the
nobody
whole-
in this
not the whole-
office.
I don't know what
That's
to
true.
do with all this.
Do people make fun of your accent when you're over there?
What, in Paris?
Yeah.
They don't make fun of it. They really appreciate it because they're like, oh, you're from Quebec. Oh, that's so good. Like, we love you guys. And it always feels like there's this kind of bond between Quebec and France because we share the language.
Right.
So they adore me, like, as soon as I speak French.
All right. Hot shit over there. We got it. Wait, because it's just like, oh, you're like the fun little colony out there. You're like a little island over there,
No,
Quebec.
I don't
So
say
it's like,
fun colony.
well, I know they don't say fun colony, but that's the vibe. It's like you're our little brother way over there.
Yeah, it's kind of this, I don't know, familiarity, I guess. It's just like, yeah, we share the language.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Speaking of familiarity and knowing a language, Dan Tack, we learned this morning that you have seen the film Blair Witch how many times?
I said 50, but obviously that
Five
that was some
times! Okay.
there was some hyperbole there. I've seen it many times.
Over 12.
Yeah.
That is extreme. I love the original Blair Witch movie.
We're talking the original.
I love it too. I have not seen the new one. The
Oh,
one that
oh
came out a
God.
few years ago.
Not
great.
good?
Not great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why
Very
I didn't go see
weird.
it.
Very weird. Controversial ending. I don't want to. Is it spoilers to talk about that?
Yeah, probably. There's a part of me that still wants to watch that new
Okay.
one. Okay, are you more of a Book of Shadows fella?
No, Book of Shadows was also awful.
Is the new
I'm
one
not
d-
sure which one is more terrible.
Okay, that's a bad sign, man.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about Blair Witch, which is always a blast, because there's a new game
Yes.
from a studio called Bloober.
Bloober team. We're the dev team that's behind Observer and Layers of Fear.
Yeah, okay. So this was at E3 during Microsoft's showcase. Everyone thought it was an Alan Wake game, and lo and behold, it was a Blair
Or
Witch game.
Outlast. Yeah, and then it turned out to be Blair Witch, which came very much out of left field. 'Cause
Yeah.
Especially me, I did not expect a Blair Witch game.
It's
but-
absurd.
So one thing is, it's the 20th anniversary of the Blair Witch project.
Oh, okay.
That's
The
terrifying.
original.
It's more terrifying than The Witch itself.
That's way
Did you see
scarier
it
than
in
the movie.
theaters, Dan?
I did. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I watched it when I was 16 with my neighbor on her couch.
One time with a friend, we watched that movie, and then we went and slept in a tent in the backyard, which was a great idea, until his MFer older brother knew that we watched that movie and snuck out later when we were sleeping and just started shaking the tent like that one scene in the movie. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life.
It's really
Urine
amazing.
flowing.
It's really amazing what they did with such like a small budget and a scrappy team for that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I love the whole found footage that came afterward. Like now it's just like, hey, we got $20. Let's make a horror movie. You know? But at that time, the found footage genre was not
Was
didn't
not,
exist.
Not a thing.
Right.
So
right.
it really did break the seal on that, and
Yeah.
I think it did it very well.
Oh, I think it did really well. It did it really well too.
Hey, you want to try something crazy, Dan?
Sure.
Okay, this is only for the video aspect, but okay, Elise, you got to check out this game. See it, play it. What'd you get?
So I have not played it.
Okay.
I've done a couple interviews with the writer and one of the developers. But basically, it's a first-person psychological horror game, and you play as a character called Ellis, and he is an ex-cop, and he is helping these other people in his neighborhood or whatever to search for a kid who has gone missing in the Black Hills Forest, which is the same location as the original film.
Yeah.
And so he goes into the woods trying to find this kid, and he gets separated from the rest of the search party. And then weird crap starts to happen, basically.
How does it look overall?
It's hard to say because, it looks good. It could
Really?
be good.
Could be good. That's the realm we're in right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard because I haven't played it, right?
So what are you doing in the gameplay? Just
So-
searching around?
No, so there's several things. There's going to be puzzle gameplay. So you've got a camcorder that you find, and then there'll be several different tapes that you find scattered around the woods, and these will give you, hints about maybe the witch or what happened in this woods, or what happened to the kid. And then as you watch this found footage, you can rewind it or fast forward. And as you do that, things in the game world will actually transform and change to reflect what's shown on the camera. So say
Oh, weird.
you're watching a video. This is the example they gave me. You're watching a video of a tree that falls down in the woods, and you find a tape right by that tree, and you watch you rewind it so that the tree goes back up, then in real life the tree will also go back up. And like,
Oh, weird.
yeah, so it's kind of like playing with perception and like your reality.
Dan,
and
you into
stuff.
this? Are you optimistic about this?
I mean,
thing?
I haven't seen the game, but I was curious about how it ties in to the lore of the Blair Witch Project. Like, we already know what happens, right? There's a lot of room for exploration there. I don't think they've done that with the franchise. They basically just remake the same movie over and over with the exact same like plot points throughout.
How
So
much lore is there? As much as I love that movie, it's like there's a effed up witch that doesn't like people.
there's more than you
There's
think.
more lore than you think because
Really?
it's not just the original film. There's like comics and there's actually like a
There were
documentary.
there were like books.
There's
I think.
video games also. There's
Yeah.
a trilogy of video games.
What?
Oh yeah, from the early 2000s.
Like PS2 stuff?
I don't want to say. I might
Okay.
be wrong, so I don't want to.
Oh, I don't think I've
Messed
ever
that up.
looked
They have
at
it-
those old
but-
games.
The thing is, it doesn't come out in the movies. It's just like there's a lot there, but it's usually just like, hey, there's a scary noise. Let's go check it out. Oh, we got stuff hanging from the trees.
Right.
Right,
The
right,
fact
right.
is, you never see the witch in the film, which actually also spanned a lot of fan theories after that.
Hang
is,
on,
you
Dan
know-
is wincing. Like that's not
There's
true.
debates about that as far as
Oh.
in the 2016 Blair Witch.
Oh, okay.
Now, you do not see the witch in the film, but people think they saw the witch in the film. There's a whole controversy about what you do see in the film, and again, to prevent spoilers, like I said, I was very curious about this game exploring what happens at the end of Blair Witch 2016,
Yeah.
which I won't go into detail on because
Sure.
you guys haven't seen it or something. So
Yeah. Did they talk about that new film and if it's tied in any way, or is it mainly derived
So-
from that first film?
So actually, this game takes place in 1996.
Oh, cool.
So
Okay.
it's going to be in the 90s in the same way that like the original.
So it almost like got the ball rolling. I'm trying to remember in the first movie is the idea that like they've heard that these woods are effed up and that's why they go out there.
they're going to search and find out about this urban legend, basically. So this is a little different where I don't know if Ellis is even aware of that urban legend or
Yeah.
not, but he's going in to search for that missing kid.
So in the E3 reel, we got the reason why I was able to figure out it was Blair Witch before like they named it is because you see the guy in the corner, right? They got the whole like Rustin Parr, crazy hermit serial killer guy kind of thing. Like I said, I just don't know how like they're gonna make this interesting if they're just playing by those beats, or if they're gonna, or if if they're working with people who are on the franchise and figuring out like, is it cool if we put this thing in there? If we change things, we're gonna
Well,
add monsters.
That's the thing. So what's interesting is like there are monsters in this. So
I
they're
don't think
like
I want that.
It can
that's what I'm wondering too. I'm kind of on the fence.
It all
about
depends
that.
how they do it.
What I saw was I saw some gameplay footage and there was like some weird. It almost looked like a dog or something that was like going around you really, really fast. Like that was one of the creatures. And there was also this like twig-like creature that looked like J.V. Gwaltney.
Wait, so is it like the logo, like
It
but
kind-
walking around?
So if it's
kinda
a
looked
if it's
like
a
that.
tall, spindly,
Yes.
pale creature, that's in Blair Witch 2016,
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
where there is a creature similar to the description.
Did it talk
okay.
about Wolfenstein?
No, so
Okay.
it wasn't JV.
Okay.
Actually, if he was really hungry, it kind of looks and acts the same as you would in that film.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have an episode of New Gameplay today up if you want to actually see footage of this thing.
Yeah.
If you think you can handle it without crapping your pants.
Basically.
And yeah, I'm excited to do that. Like, I'm hoping it can translate found footage into a horror game experience similar to, not similar to, but like, Amnesia, Devotion, any of these things with good jump scares, but actual atmosphere to support those jump scares instead of just being, hey man, you scared yet? Here's a loud noise.
Right.
Yeah.
When's it coming out?
August 30th for
Awesome.
Xbox One and PC.
Cool. Is there a preview on the site as well, or is that in the next issue of the magazine?
There will be one. Yes, actually, as I believe once this podcast is up, it will be on the site.
Perfect. That sounds great. Hey, thanks everybody for
Yeah.
talking Blair Witch.
Thank you.
You guys want to clap out? Joe Juba.
Hey.
And who is this with you? Do you know this man?
Yes.
You shouldn't.
He has hair like a Greek helmet. It's got that little strip on the top. That's Brian Shea, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So we're here to talk about, let me get this right, Assassin's Creed Odyssey's DLC,
Yes.
which I'll just argue is relevant not only because, it's technically out, but there's a crazy PSN sale. You seen this? You heard about this?
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
deluxe edition for AC is $30.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
And if you already have AC Odyssey, the season pass standalone, I think is like $23 or $24 or something.
Oh my God. Okay, so
So-
crazy deal. Also in that deal, you're a big fan, Shay. Garden Warfare 2 Deluxe It's a solid game. $1.25.
It's such a good multiplayer shooter. Like that was my game that I played almost every night before Overwatch came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
I'm not saying they're on the same level, but like it's a very fun game.
Was it ever offered in PS Plus?
Maybe. I think it might have been a Games with Gold.
Okay. Maybe
But it was one of those I think had it.
Sure. Still, yeah, crazy deal. But okay, Assassin's Creed Odyssey's DLC. Are you going to spoil things, Joe?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good.
Then what can we talk about with Assassin's Creed Odyssey's DLC?
Well, I mean, I guess there are some things I will talk about that if you just don't want to know anything about it, I guess don't listen to the segment.
We're talking like trailer level hints are acceptable.
Yeah, okay. So the important thing I think to point out, what I want to talk about specifically is the second arc of the DLC, because this is what's weird about this season pass, is that essentially it's composed of 2 story arcs, and each arc is 3 episodes.
Like McDonald's. Move on.
those-
Move on.
So sorry.
Leo didn't laugh at that one either.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, I told you something's broken. I don't know. Are these mics going in there, Leo?
I can't hear a word you guys are saying.
Okay, so the bottom line is the first 3 episodes for me were really disappointing because they took place in the same areas that, like, it's already set in the map of the normal game.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing new stuff, and then most of the stuff you were doing in there is just the same sort of like, go infiltrate a fort, go, do a nation battle kinds of stuff that just like, if there's one thing AC Odyssey didn't need, it was more of those activities.
More standard content.
Yeah.
Very true.
But the second arc, which is called The Fate of Atlantis, does do different stuff. It
Do you go to Atlantis?
Well, you just said you didn't want to yes, you do.
All right, that seems fine. Is it interesting?
Yeah, it is. So it's a 3 episode arc. The final arc is in Atlantis. The first one, you're going to Elysium. So it's got this cool like afterlife, this sort of like lush paradise kind of afterlife feel to it. Ooh. And the second one is like Tartarus. So it's like a very dark, stormy, fiery underworld kind of thing.
How does
right.
this work? Serial was telling me before we recorded this episode that apparently Origins DLC also went kind of supernatural and into the afterlife. Is it all
Supernatural? I think the Origins DLC was like you're battling like Egyptian gods.
But he said it was about like visiting different parts of the afterlife as well.
Yeah.
Okay. How does AC account for this? What are
So-
they doing lore-wise to make it reasonable that you're just visiting heaven and hell and all this nonsense?
This does get into some spoiler stuff for the main game that I can't
Okay.
that I just don't want to I don't want to ruin, but
Yeah.
ultimately it boils down to trying to create a sort of synergy. So in Odyssey, the idea is you've got your modern day character Layla, who is sort of living through Cassandra or Alexios back in ancient Greece, right? So the idea is Cassandra or Alexios are kind of going through these like first civilization simulations.
Yeah.
But the reason the ancient Greek character is doing it is so that Layla, thousands of years later, can do it through their eyes.
Okay.
So
I guess I don't-
It's almost like an Inception. It's like that's not necessarily true, but it's like a nested experience.
Okay. And as an AC fan, being in the afterlife doesn't just rub you the wrong way for like this thing going off the rails in a fun way, but it's absurd, right?
It is a little, but here's I think where it's especially tailored to fans like me.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that in the Assassin's Creed series as a whole, since like AC3, it's kind of been real touch and go with the way it handles the modern day stuff, right? And for someone like me who really likes that stuff, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
For many players, that is not disappointing, and they don't like it. So it seems that the strategy the team at Ubisoft has landed on is sort of make it part of the story for the base game, but not like a huge component. And then when you get to the DLC, that's something that your hardcore fans are probably going to be playing anyway.
Right.
So then if you want to dive into the modern day stuff, the first civilization stuff, that's the place to do it.
That's interesting. That's smart.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, that first arc of the DLC didn't do that so much, and the second arc just goes all in on it.
Can you skip the first arc? And should you?
So here's the thing that's kind of sad about it is like, even though the first arc I thought it was disappointing, it does do some important things and has some important ties to the series as a whole that like, I am glad I played it. I'm glad I know about that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you like the Isu, like the first civilization angle of Assassin's Creed at all, like that's just all Fate of Atlantis is. It's just
that's cool.
all in on that.
I mean, I won't spoil anything, but like I haven't played any of the DLC, but the ending of Odyssey like sets up so many cool possibilities for not only like the DLC, which seems like they do play off of that, but like the future of the franchise as a whole has a lot of really cool ways it could go.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice to get that message out there. I feel like, from my vantage point of just, being, I've played a couple Assassin's Creeds. That's about it. And then just reading the internet. All I know is Assassin's Creed Odyssey's DLC, major character straight instead of gay or something like that. There's some like weird negative thing. Something about a sexuality swap is all I really know about this DLC.
Yeah.
It takes away your agency of like.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, I don't want. That's a controversy from months ago that I don't necessarily want to dig up. But I guess what I'd say is it's more what Brian said than like the talking point online was that it makes you straight if you want to be, and like that is frustrating for players who are very invested in that. But I think if you pull out from that even more, it's the sense that it kind of forces you into a decision in a game that, as a rule, does not force you into decisions. Right.
Shay, what are the odds? You've kind of been the Greek chorus at the table here, but what are the odds that you're actually going to play through this DLC?
I bought the season pass.
That's not an answer.
A month or two ago. I was waiting for all this. Like as soon as Joe gave us like the rundown of the first episode of this, it was like, hey guys, this one is actually good, unlike the first arc. I was like, all right, I'm going to check this out. I re-downloaded it onto my system. I'm kind of in between games right now. I was telling Joe this just a second ago.
This is a very long answer to an odds-based question.
50-50.
50-50.
Is he blowing it?
No, his description of like diving into the first Civ stuff really like ups my odds of going to play this now.
So like the new areas you visit are just gorgeous. They give you some new enemies and some new tasks, so you're not just clearing out the same enemies in the same forts and that kind of stuff. So new areas that look great, new stuff to do, and it just gives you a bunch of like a lot of the new abilities it gives you are really cool.
And I mean, this is probably my favorite Assassin's Creed game since Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Like I love it that much, but the problem is it's such a huge game, and I'm worried about like how much like I've just completely forgotten how to play this game or how much it's changed even for that matter.
Yeah.
And like I really want to play more of it, but like this is a game I almost 100%ed. Like that's how much I loved that game. Like
no wonder there's too much of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it just keeps going forever and ever and ever. Like
Is all the DLC done at this point? Are we wrapped up?
All of the DLC that they've announced is out, except, I mean, and that's for the paid content, right?
Yeah.
So that's the 2 DLC arcs, and then also included in the season pass is Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, which is AC3 and AC Liberation.
Oh wow, okay.
So you get that as part of the deal too. Then there's one more significant thing coming out, and that's the Discovery Tour. You remember that from Origins?
I love that from Origins. Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming to Odyssey sometime this fall is what they've said, I think.
Okay.
So
I'm looking forward for that to be my full Odyssey experience. I started the game and then kind of trailed off, but that I'm super into.
Yeah. Origins I wasn't into enough to like play any of the DLC or do the Discovery Tour or anything, but like I might do it with Odyssey this time
Hell yeah.
around.
And if you don't remember, that's just where they open up the entire world and turn it into an educational game. You just wander on the world and there's little nodes and
it's like an interactive museum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You can choose different characters you run around as and stuff and just teleport around immediately.
And I imagine it would give you some sort of insight into how the developers researched for like creating this world.
Yeah.
And here's what I wonder about is I think they've come out and said that like AC Odyssey is the most successful one in the series.
Really?
Or one of them, but I really think it's the biggest.
Oh wow, okay.
It was a hit.
Don't quote me on that, but it was definitely a very successful game.
Yeah.
And they don't have a new AC announced yet.
Well, I mean the Vikings one's coming 2020, but yeah.
Not that they've announced. That's what all the rumors point to, right? So, but all that means, I mean, this series usually releases in the fall. Mm-hmm. So it's weird to me to think that there would be a whole year of this very successful game just sort of like sitting quiet. I wonder if there's, if not a whole new wave of DLC, like I wonder if there's more coming.
Yeah.
But
Could they make another one of those 2D games? Did they finish off that trilogy?
I hope they finish that trilogy off.
they finished it.
Did they?
Yeah.
What was it? Is India?
China, Russia.
Okay. Boy, no one talked about those after the first one, I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be another wave.
Yeah.
Why not, I
I mean,
guess.
I would personally love more of it. But
Really?
yeah.
But
yeah.
Shay's in the camp of too much content already, but you're
But hey, if
eager
it
for
goes
more
in,
story.
if it goes in interesting directions, like I'm
Yeah.
totally there for the story because that story ends really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right on. You know what game I played, Joe?
What's that?
A game I never thought I'd play. I played Final Fantasy VII Before Crisis.
Really?
Yeah. So
the old phone game, right?
yes, this is a
yeah,
prequel
yeah.
to Final Fantasy VII that was part of the bundle of new Final Fantasy VII stuff that came around the time of like Advent Children, the movie, and stuff like that.
Except this was a Japan exclusive mobile phone game before there were smartphones.
Yes, exactly. So it's like weird deep cut. And so we ran a story on GameInformer.com about it, but some fan using RPG Maker like took all the assets and music and recreated Before Crisis in RPG Maker, but not like the most modern RPG Maker. It's like RPG Maker 2003. So you can go back and find it if you want and get it all up and running. It turns out playing an old phone game on your TV in RPG Maker looks like dog shit. It is stunningly bad to look at. And a part of me is like, this is just RPG Maker, right? And then went back and looked at original assets for this game. It's like, oh, Lord, no, it really looks rough.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that from being... That was a thing that happened a lot in that era, in sort of the like 2005-ish stuff, was that I would get real excited about a game, like a series that I liked getting another entry. You'd see some tease about like, oh, it's coming. And then, oh, it's coming to mobile phones.
Yep.
Only in Japan.
In Japan.
Yeah.
Because, this is before we even had smartphones here. Like, how big was mobile gaming before anyone had
An iPhone.
an iPhone?
Right.
You know, like,
For Angry Birds and Plants vs. Zombies, it was like...
But before that, you had the Snake Trilogy. That was classic. There was the parachuting game where you went through the rings, whatever the hell it
What
was.
was it, like Breakout on a lot of phones?
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So I tried playing it, maybe played like half an hour, and then got to a scene where there's a group and they're screaming in the streets of Midgard, like, down with Shinra! And they charge ahead, and then my character got stuck in a wall. And I hadn't had an opportunity to save. I was like, well, I'm done with you, because I don't want to start this over
Went
again.
through
But-
all that trouble to get that.
Yeah, but if you don't remember, it's like story of the Turks, basically, before Final Fantasy VII, and you play as the main character. Joe, do you remember what her name is? She's a Turk, not in 7. She's an original character for this.
oh, absolutely not. No.
Her name is Shotgun.
Okay.
Very odd. But in the beginning of the game, they run a bunch of animated videos that I assume, I don't know if it was marketing or is actually in the original game as well. And those are sweet. Like if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, I do recommend looking on YouTube for these Before Crisis animated trailers or intro videos, because it's just well animated, stylish Turk stuff. And the character designs are by, Nomura. They actually look pretty cool overall. So that's probably the highlight experience of Before Crisis being rekindled here.
But like that's what was so disappointing about it for me back in the day is like everyone who played Final Fantasy VII, like the Turks, they thought the Turks were awesome. The Turks are objectively great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So like the idea that like, hey, we're going to give a side story to these characters that everyone likes, but also make it generally terrible and inaccessible.
Yes.
Like that just seems like a weird move.
It's
I
a
don't
weird
know why
move.
you do that.
Well, would you rather have them make a terrible game and make it accessible, like Dirge of Cerberus?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, is that an alternative you want?
And that's even because they kind of did. The Turks were in that too, but then then it just sucked.
Yeah. One of these days, I'll play through that thing.
Just
One
waiting
of
for
these
my
days.
Orange spinoff from Final Fantasy X.
Oh, that would be cool.
Oh, we got to interview Katase about Final Fantasy X.
Ah.
Yeah.
What'd you learn about Final Fantasy X from that quick email interview, Joe?
Oh boy. Let's see. You're putting me on the spot here. I don't think that there weren't a ton of like bombs dropped in it or anything. A lot of what I like about those interviews is just sort of being able to reminisce with some distance so that you get I feel like a less sugar-coated version of development and maybe a greater willingness to admit some things that like could be improved. So
Yeah.
for instance, talking about the mini games to get the ultimate weapons.
Right.
Katase sort of, by omission, admitted that he himself did not finish the chocobo racing part of it. to like.
Wait, I beat a part he didn't?
Yeah.
Well, he basically said like, look, all the people who designed those games beat them and made sure that they were beatable, right?
You just have to win the RNG game and also have a flawless run.
I basically I asked, did you beat the lightning dodging and the chocobo racing? He's like, well, I did the lightning dodging.
Hey, there we go. I was after that interview came out, I was like, oh crap! I wanted to ask about, because remember one of the first videos they ever released for Final Fantasy X was it showed somebody going online. Like originally that was a play online game for PS2, and I don't know if they've really dove in deep ever on what the original online plans were for 10. And I was kicking myself like, I wish I would have asked that.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I'm sure it's just some social networking light thing. It's not like it was going to be multiplayer or anything like that.
I don't know. I mean, the next game was the MMO.
Yeah,
so
right?
it very well could have been like, oh, this is our plan, and then it didn't have like the technology for it. So they were just like, oh, let's do a single player game.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm so glad they didn't.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. What's going on with you, Shay?
Not a whole lot. Is that what we're doing? We're just hanging out now?
Yeah, man.
Is Mike even
familiar
on?
with the Game Informer show? Well, we just went on a cover story trip together.
We sure did.
We'll be revealing that in early August.
Early August.
Early August.
Yes.
How you feeling about that scale of 1 to 10? Not the game itself, but the trip.
The trip? I think a solid 8.5.
8.5?
Yeah.
You're talking a Wolfenstein Youngblood level trip? That's higher than I expected. With some very good interviews in that trip.
Yeah. I think that elevated it for sure.
There we go. Cool. All right, Joe, anything else you want to communicate?
I think I'm good for now.
All right, great.
Follow us on Instagram, Game Informer Magazine.
Oh my gosh, yeah, let's talk about that. You
Yeah.
run Game Informer's Instagram along with Kyle and production and
Yeah, it's a super fun time. Lots of behind the scenes stuff. Like we take a ton of pictures when we go on these cover trips. And
normally
like studio
shirtless
visits.
selfies.
Yeah, mostly
of
shirtless
Shay
selfies.
in the mirror if you're into that type of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, like when we go to these studios and these events, we take a bunch of pictures. When developers come and visit us, we take a bunch of pictures. So
Yeah.
it's like, hey, why not share it with the world?
You know what you should do?
What?
You should go back to the digital archives and pull from some of the greatest GI spies of Game Informer's past.
Believe it or not, Kyle Hilliard and I had that exact same conversation today.
Oh, did you really?
We did.
And you think it's doable? Because
We're gonna look into it. 'cause
those
there
assets are all on discs sitting around the office somewhere.
Yeah. Somewhere.
Oh, you
All
can
right.
always scan them in too.
We could, but that's not as good.
It looks like crap.
There's an old picture of me wearing a trucker hat and aviator sunglasses with my beard shaved weird. My alter ego Joey Knuckles is what.
Joey Knuckles.
That's what-
How have I not heard of this?
That's what Matt Helgeson called me.
What was this for?
Wait, was that also your character that you were playing in that old Peripheral video review with Dan Reichert where you guys were playing the hunting game? Because I remember you went for like a full hick look in that too.
I think it was similar. I think it
Okay.
was. Man, I got so mad at Dan in that.
Yeah, remember what did we make, like 3 or 4 of those like Peripheral review videos?
Yeah,
and it was just you screaming at Dan about setting up and not checking out batteries?
It was that one in particular. He just did no work to get it to like figure out if we could
Dan
do
Reichert.
it.
No work, you're saying. I am not familiar with this concept.
No research. It was just like he was like, "Hey, well, let's do this," and he just did absolutely nothing to figure out if the equipment worked, how to film it. Like,
Good times. You can go find that on Game Informer's YouTube.
Game Informer Magazine on Instagram.
That sounds great, Shay. Do you guys want to do some emails?
Sure.
Here we go. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We're going to answer some wonderful emails to help me. I have Imran Khan.
Howdy.
Welcome. Kyle Hilliard.
Hi.
Get a haircut. And JV Gwaltney.
Hi.
Your hair's looking good.
Thank you.
Very little sticky spike stuff going on there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
You should get a haircut too.
I know. Leo, feel free to leave your mic on in the booth now and forever, by the way.
Okay.
Cool. So people sent in emails to podcast@gameinformer.com. They sent in questions, words of wisdom, trivia, dares, fun things, anything that makes the show better. We're going to read off some of the greatest... Leo, turn your mic off, you animal. Just turn your mic off. We're going to read off some of our favorites and then choose our absolute number 1 favorite and then honor where that person's from by putting a pin in the big board.
What's the weirdest category of thing you've ever been sent an email? Like, has anyone ever cursed the show or something?
Oh,
like
interesting.
provided cast a hex?
I don't. There's some hater guys. Believe it or not, it's guys, and they'll email in over and over again, just cursing and calling us SJWs or something. So,
Cool.
Is that a curse?
I don't. Maybe. I
Okay.
guess.
It's
a
And
modern
my
curse.
Twitter feed is cursed too.
Yeah, apparently.
It's a 2019 curse.
Here's something we've never done.
Okay.
asked for things, right? But I was thinking about like what would make the show better. I love little interesting things that people have learned. So, like, feel free to email into podcast@gameinformer.com with like the last interesting thing you learned about the game industry or a video game, like those things that's like, I never knew that. Feel free to write that
Or
into
about become a
podcast@gameinformer.com.
PBS show. The
Yes.
Learning Hour at Game Informer.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Everything's better if it's a PBS show. It's
true.
RJ from Dominican Republic, first email. He says, ladies and gentlemen, can a remake win Game of the Year? Like Resident Evil 2?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could see, yeah.
I mean,
Please.
it's
I can see
look
Resident
forward
Evil
to
2
it.
winning this year.
it's an uphill
can see
battle,
that.
though. I'm like, I love Resident Evil 2. I'm hesitant to put my weight behind it for Game of the Year.
Because it's a remake?
I think so, yeah.
But there's enough things different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic game that separates itself from the original, but it's just like, personally, I think I would rather just see a totally original. I don't know, but I like sequels too. It could, like, it totally could, but it's like it's you have to argue for it.
I don't think it's an uphill battle at all. Like, if we get to the end of the year and like Resident Evil 2 is the best game I've played this year,
You don't think anyone in that office, you don't think anyone in that room will say, it's a remake. You don't
Andy
think they'll
McNamara will absolutely.
Joe Juba.
and I will fight to the ends of the earth about
But
that.
you're saying there won't
Really?
be a
The
battle.
ends?
No, I think there will be a battle. I'm
Okay.
saying that like I would put my weight behind it.
Yeah.
Is what all I mean.
Didn't we have this conversation last year in Game of the Year
Yeah.
about
It was like Samus Returns or something.
Yeah, or whether
No, it
we
was
have
Kiwami.
a remake
That was like
list.
Kiwami 2.
Oh,
we were talking
Kiwami 2? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like this is a whole nother level though, like Resident Evil 2 in particular.
Yeah, it's,
like,
it's
yeah.
weird.
It's going to be
Like, is
ugly.
Link's Awakening on the docket this year? Like, I assume it will be that we're going to talk about that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that'll be like, I just put it in the stack of remakes. Look, please look forward to a whole nother debate, somewhat outward facing, I hope, of
Yeah.
just what the hell we're going to do with the list this year and all this stuff.
I'm glad we don't record those, honestly.
I'm not.
Yeah, I would love
I
for
really,
those to,
really want
I'm
to.
glad we don't record those.
Because there's a lot of times
nasty
I'm like,
things get said.
Yes,
it's
that's
interesting.
Not fun.
That's not fun.
Nasty things. Look, people have hissy fits, but it's not like people are like, I hate your family.
I think
Like,
it's the only time I've
forward.
ever seen Matt Miller get frustrated.
coming into Game Informer, like, that is some of the most exciting stuff to
It is.
listen to internally.
100%.
Like,
Yeah.
That's a debate. There's another debate we have every year. So.
Hey, let's keep having these same debates forever.
Time is a flat circle.
Chris from Houston writes in, and it's a long email, but it's lovely. But the core is there just too much stuff these days? Too much content?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like,
God, yeah.
What's a person to do with all this content?
Anytime I load up Netflix, I am immediately hit with like a small wave of anxiety of like, well, what am I going to watch? There's so much.
Don't watch TV.
What? That is stupid. We're in a golden era of television.
I know.
Television is better than movies right
Save
now.
it for like you need 4 recommendations before you'll watch a show. Just keep your threshold.
Don't watch TV.
I just feel bad because there's like a whole list of shows I should really watch, like The Americans. I keep telling myself I'm going to watch
Right,
The Americans,
right.
but then I load up Netflix and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch Mad Men again.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm with
Keep
you.
watching The Office over and over.
Follow it wherever it goes and whatever streaming platform. What about games? Do you guys feel overwhelmed already?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always, constantly. There's
Yeah.
always, what do I do with my time right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like maybe last year that was the case because every game that came out, I just really wanted to play really badly. But this year it's been kind of quiet and has given me time to like do that Super Nintendo thing and like just play
yeah.
a bunch of old games
Right.
that I haven't gotten the chance to play. Like I'm playing, this isn't necessarily old, but Hollow Knight coming off of the Metroid thing.
Oh, okay.
And like that's super fun. So I don't really feel overwhelmed.
Yeah? Oh, just you.
I really want to play
It'll be.
Shadowbringers, but like I don't know when I'm going to find that time.
I know.
'Cause, like there's so much Final Fantasy 14 to get to until then too.
I know. I'm with you. I want to play that too, but it's just the idea of I don't want to spend 60 hours with an MMO. Like that is just the one time I've really got an MMO was like Old Republic, and I look back on that era and it was like over a winter break when I had all of Giant Bomb's Game of the Year 2011 debates to go through, and just spending my winter break. I'm happy that it was memorable because I did that, but it drains my soul to think of just all that time that just flew out the window.
They record their Game of the Year debates?
Oh, that's cool. That's really interesting idea.
Yeah, when someone's like, it's the best content of the year. Anyways, Sam B from Madison, Wisconsin. Oh, the quiet man's
Right
country.
next door.
That's true. Also, our interview coming up at the end of the show, also from Madison. Congratulations to Madison, Wisconsin. Not quite God's country, but they're trying. Speaking of which, Leo, remember, pull up Google Sheets on that computer there so we can see the God's country list. Okay, great.
Oh, keep track now.
Also pull up YouTube, Leo, because this email says, hey, Informarinos, Rockstar finally put out a Red Dead Redemption 2 soundtrack. cut to the close-up of Leo tearing up during the Game Awards performance. But it doesn't include the best song on the soundtrack, which everybody knows is...
The house building song.
Building song.
Like, yes.
It's really not on there?
I guess
It's not on there. No.
Wow.
The
That-
score
it's very
soundtrack is
frustrating.
coming out separately, like the original score. Hopefully that's a part of it, even
I
though it doesn't
doubt
make
that's a
sense.
part
Why
of it.
would it be?
Well, that's how movies used to do it, right? They would have like the pop soundtrack, and then they would have the orchestration.
You're thinking of the
soundtrack.
Matrix Reloaded soundtrack.
Right, but
Yes,
like these are
apparently.
original songs made for the game, and this one isn't on there.
It should just
Yeah.
be why split it. Just put it all
Yeah.
on there.
So Sam's asking, is this the greatest travesty in the history of mankind?
I don't think so.
I can't think of anything that tops
Maybe number
it.
8.
Well,
maybe number 8.
guys, the recent movie Trolls, there's a cover of a Gorillaz song on there, and that is not on the soundtrack. So maybe that's the greatest
Really?
travesty of all time.
That is pretty devastating, actually.
yeah.
The Tetris Effect soundtrack doesn't have all the tracks, which is really frustrating.
Which one?
Tetris Effect.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that's right. It doesn't have
That
that,
might be the
commercial
greatest
song
Yeah.
that
Is
people really love.
Is that the new continuous question? What is the greatest travesty of all time?
No, I don't want that at all, actually. You know what's frustrating? I'll vent this. At the end of the year last year, when we were going to do like our best music of the year thing, I was in communication with the singer of the first and last song on Tetris Effect. And she was game for like doing like an acoustic version of Connected. And I've never been more excited for something to like air on this podcast. And then just the email trailed off. And now I'm like 6 emails sent out to her with 0 response. It broke my heart. I
Some
wanted
PR
to hear
person
that.
probably got involved
No,
or something.
it is not. It is not.
really?
Yeah, that's all greenlit. It's very frustrating. But yeah, I
Keep
feel
bugging.
like
Keep sending emails, man.
Yeah.
it's been so many, but I guess I can. That's relevant again on the
clog that
Epic
inbox.
Games Store.
Exactly.
Yeah. The house building song, which I'm glad we're keeping spoiler free and stuff, but I feel like I need to apologize a little bit because in our spoiled for Red Dead Redemption 2, I was frustrated by that. And I like that song. I like how weird it is. I still will hold true that certain parts towards the end of that game are way too long. And when it's like 1 a.m. and you have to finish the game so you can record a spoiled the next day,
A very common.
And then,
Everyone
like,
has that issue.
this 6-minute song about nailing a roof comes on. That is the part that made me want to pull my effing hair out. But
Everybody who hated Red Dead Redemption 2 tried to rush through it. Everybody
That's an
hated
interesting point.
individual parts of it.
you're right, because I loved it so much, but the epilogue is something that I absolutely was trying to rush through.
Yeah, if you hadn't been in a rush, I think you would have had a much different.
Yeah.
I loved it because I was like, it was I think even into the next year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I love that whole.
I took a
sequence.
week off work to play through it, and it
Yeah.
was like the greatest choice I made in 2018.
Well, you also built that house, which I guess you're just so motivated
Yeah.
by it. That's pretty cool.
And wrote this song.
yeah.
I'm very
I
talented.
didn't love it, but I'm thinking about going back to it fairly soon and seeing if I'll like it more in the context of 2019.
I bet it's going to be a tough one to go back to. Like, you remember the story so fondly, rudimentary controls. I cranked this stuff, Leo.
So this is not on the soundtrack.
That's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
I mean, you can find it on YouTube still.
Yeah.
Say that about.
My favorite thing about this
Maybe
is
the world's okay, Kyle.
there's a version of this song on YouTube that includes them hammering.
Oh, really?
And
It
it's
has
just
the
like
sound effect.
perfectly aligned with music.
I hope it's in the next Elite Beat Agents or something. It'll be fun. Okay.
Beat Saber.
Oh, Kyle in Melbourne, Victoria. Oh, this is
good
interesting.
name.
Saying, hey guys, you'll like this, Kyle. Because the new Fire Emblem game is out soon, it's had me thinking back on my favorite from the series, which was Sacred Stone. I played that a lot when I was younger and really enjoyed the characters and that game, but one of the more silly reasons I liked it was that I shared my name with one of the characters. So I was wondering, what characters do you like from video games that you share a name with?
I don't know any character.
There's got to be a
There's a
JV.
J period V.
No, like
period.
a hot. Oh, I was thinking like hobby or something.
Oh,
There's that.
well, Red Dead.
There's that Just Dance song
That's
that just says
Javier.
JV, 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 JV.
Oh yeah, that's really
Which,
weird.
by the way, is shaky, is what the lyrics are.
Okay,
Shaky,
Mr.
shaky,
Buzzkill.
Okay, it's not a Just Dance song if you want to go there, Kyle.
My family's been playing a lot of Just Dance recently.
Yeah.
And there's a
As a family?
song. Yeah, like my wife and daughter play it,
Uh-huh.
and they there's a song called "Me Me Me" in it, and they did a full like 3-minute clay animated sequence. Like there's a
Really?
dancing prospector guy, who's like, and I found a like a 5-minute little doc on Vimeo showing like why Ubisoft paid to animate this guy for this one song of like what is probably ultimately like 200 songs on Just
Yeah,
Dance.
well, they got to do something. I mean, I think they
weird.
have that full system pretty automated at this point.
It's
Not
just
that the devs are working hard, but
Oh,
it's like
no.
they got to spend that budget somewhere.
It's
for
just a
Just
good
Dance.
reminder of just like how strange Just Dance is,
Yeah.
and how like most hardcore gamers don't really look at it, but like there's a lot of weird stuff happening. To that
Kyle, you
game.
should do a feature on the history of Just Dance.
It would be interesting.
I would like to read it.
Yeah.
Is there a Kyle in any video games?
Oh, well, there's Kyle in from the Star Wars game.
Katarn.
I think we're forgetting Kyle Simulator.
Oh, there's
Oh,
Kyle
yeah,
Simulator,
that's
of course.
true. Did a
Well,
YouTube video on that.
I had that little joke that I liked in the top 10 recently. I forget what top 10 Star Wars characters that were like exclusively in video games.
Yeah.
And I think I wrote something like Kyle, who has the best name
Oh,
in the
Kyle
galaxy.
Katarn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my byline was on it, so it was a funny joke.
Did that make it through editing?
Yeah. It's in there.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
I never liked my middle name, which is Meryl, up until like 1998.
Oh,
Metal Gear.
Then I get Metal Gear. It's like, oh, badass. And then also the Pokemon Meryl was like, oh, that's a good
okay.
double whammy. Video games like pretty close to each other. You know, now it's cool. Now it's the coolest name, and everyone's talking about it.
This isn't exactly the same, but I found out recently Tom Clancy's middle name is Leo.
Oh.
No way.
Yeah.
How's it feel to be related to the father of video games through the middle name?
It just feels right.
Well, that's weird because your middle name is Tom Clancy at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Lucas,
Poetry.
Leo Tom Clancy Hitman Vader.
this question is perplexing to me. Lucas Adams from San Marcos, Texas says, "Hey, gang. Yeehaw!" He doesn't say that. He says, when it comes to interviews, which do you think is a more interesting perspective? A veteran in the industry or a prominent celebrity personality who is a casual gamer? I love diving into the nitty-gritty of the industry, but it's also interesting to see casual observations on popular games or gaming culture.
Veteran.
I know, it seems like everyone wants a veteran, right?
Yeah, like anytime I've watched an interview with a celebrity who's talking about, a game they've been playing, it generally comes down to, oh yeah, that game's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's it. Or they're like a
Everything's so
spokesperson.
surface level, right?
Or
And
like
they'll always
maybe
get something
except for
wrong.
like Jack Black or someone who's like really into games, and they
Yeah.
talk about it to a little bit more of a knowledgeable perspective, but that's rare.
Yeah, and I get it. It's like frustrating, not frustrating, but it's a dynamic that occasionally comes on for the podcast, right? Because it's like, okay, you have a chance to interview this celebrity. They can talk about this game. And it's like, well, I guess that would look good in a headline, but yeah, just the fact that, hey, celebrity plays games. It's like, I think just as a world, we're tired of that concept at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
Speaking as
mean
a
Dave
world-
Bautista played Gears of War?
Yeah,
once?
exactly. Yeah. What's that, Leo?
Speaking as a world,
Yeah. I apologize for that one time having George Takei on the podcast officially. Anyways, moving on. Jared Barzy writes in and says, simple question here, but greetings from Kansas City. You betcha. I'm currently playing through Detroit Become Human as a free PS Plus game. I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised and I'm enjoying it way more than I thought I would. So I'm wondering, what examples do you have of a game far exceeding expectations?
Like what expectations? Like your own personal
Yeah, I
expectations?
guess so. Speaking of, do you have the audio up, Leo? I'm hearing a hiss.
no.
Oh, maybe
Imran,
that's-
are you
maybe that's
quietly
Imran.
hissing into the microphone?
I mean, not that I'm aware of. But I mean, it
snake
could be an involuntary
floor?
response.
Okay, anyways,
I mean,
that's fine.
Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Hot off the presses, yeah.
Mine is Arkham Asylum.
Oh,
Oh, you
sure.
thought that was going to be
Oh, yeah. Like, I read the Game Informer cover story, and I was optimistic. I was like, this sounds good, but I mean, it's a Batman video game.
It's a
Like,
licensed game.
It's not going to happen. Like, and then there were demos that were sent out to the retail stores of just the combat, and that like made me a little more optimistic when I started getting the hang of the combat, because
Yeah.
I worked at a store, so I would just play it a bunch. And then I remember Game Informer, I got the issue, and that had the first review in it, and it had a 9. And I think it was like maybe 9+ or something. And I was just like, oh, I think we're onto something special here. I think someone might have actually nailed a Batman game, and they did for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Joshua from Layton, Utah says, hey, everybody at the office, Rocksteady Studios was briefly mentioned on the last episode of the podcast. It left me thinking, what have those guys been doing since their last release? It's been 4 years since Arkham Knight. This comes up all the time.
Urban Chaos 2, probably.
No, but sincerely, like if we really had to try and predict, what is Rocksteady making right now? Because I saw Jason Schreier at Kotaku was like teasing that it is a superhero game in
right?
some way, but they say they're done with the Batman games. Sincerely, Kyle,
Yeah.
gun to your head,
Gun to my head.
predict what they're doing right now.
I think I think it's another Batman game. Like honestly,
Really?
like because there was a teaser at the end of Night, and they're very good at I don't know if very good's not the right call.
Very good liars.
Yeah, I mean Mark Hamill was totally on board with them when at the end of Arkham City when he was like done with the Joker. Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then. You know,
So you think there's
stuff
really?
happened
It's just
there.
that simple that they're lying again.
Maybe
That would suck.
it would have. I mean, have they? I guess they did say like we're not making a new Batman game.
I have to look at the wording again.
I think it's Superman.
WB Montreal has been like kind of teasing that they're working on Court of Owls, like a new Batman game. So I don't think they'll make two. I don't
Wasn't
think
also the
WB
rumor about like
Okay.
Suicide Squad with WB Montreal, or did that get canceled? Because I know that.
That was teased in Arkham Origins, right?
Yeah. Okay. But I wonder if even a Rocksteady project has kind of gotten rebooted a couple times. 'Cause
Yeah.
it has been a while.
Yeah. I would love to see 100% original from them.
Oh, that's a best case scenario by
Yeah.
far. I was bummed out.
but
when
I
it's a superhero
think
thing.
good chance of Batman, higher chance of a DC property.
I think it's Superman. I think
I
they're
think
going to
it's-
try and solve like the Superman
That
problem.
just feels like
So
the
lame.
easy through line, though. It's
I
like
honestly-
they made a great Batman game. Time for Superman. You know.
I'm prepared to be disappointed by the announcement. Maybe the game itself would be great, but I think it's just going to be Justice League. Like you think about that time in like 2015,
Yeah.
what Warner Brothers as a company would have been pushing at that time. Like that's the next logical step. Leo, please.
WB, 3D open world Scribblenauts.
Oh, with the tech behind Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Counterattack. Counterattack.
Can I put clothes on them? How to survive a nuke?
You know what? In the original Scribblenauts, you know what word I found didn't work?
Oh, Kyle.
A hurdle.
Oh,
Like a hurdle that you jump over.
really?
Yeah. Isn't that a weird, like, that was the one
I
thing
think it's
never
weirder
found.
that when you have the world in front of you of words, you're like, you know what I want to make? One hurdle, please. My life's filled with them.
I went through every other word. I ran out of stuff.
All right. Let's see. Hey, GI Crew, says this wonderful person. Oh, no. I don't have the name. I'm sorry, but you'll know if it's you. They say, hey, here's a game which I'm calling, this is a very easy allies thing, which I'm calling Switch It or Leave It. The rules are simple. Go down the list of unported Wii U titles and vote whether it deserves a Switch port by saying Switch It or nothing by saying Leave It.
Okay, let's do it.
What's the incentive for us to say leave it for anything?
I know. Well, let's come up with one right now.
Okay.
You get $10.
Oh, sincerely, well, how would that work? $10? $50. You get $50 in your pocket if only you can like cancel this game from ever being released.
Okay.
On Switch, right?
Great.
Okay, let's go down the line
Okay.
here. Leo, Nintendo Land. Switch it or leave it.
Oh, leave it. Easy. $50.
Oh, you bastard! Mario Chase is a masterpiece.
I
I think
know.
that's on Switch. That'd be so hard. Like
Yeah.
5-player local
Plus
multiplayer,
no
I
camera.
guess.
Part of that's the fun of the camera.
Oh yeah. God, let's play more at Extra Life.
I played
love
that recently, like in the last 2 years. I had my Wii U plugged in and played with my kid because I
It's
game's
so
super
good.
I
fun.
don't believe you.
No, I don't know. I played my Wii U 2 weekends ago because I wanted to play Donkey Kong Country 3.
You sound like Gersman right now. I was just holding it last weekend. Sorry. We love Giant Bomb. Okay. Imran Khan. Star Fox Zero.
Leave it.
Leave it. Okay.
It's not a great game.
Don't you think it
No.
deserves a second chance?
I mean, a new Star
Mr.
Fox
J.
deserves a second chance, but
Okay.
I don't think Star Fox has really much of a place in the modern market anyway.
Okay. These guys are lining their gross fat cat
So they each got
pockets.
$50?
Yeah.
We're going to go hit the steakhouse.
All right, so it's
after
my
that.
turn.
Kyle. Game.
Leave it. $50.
Game and Wario.
Oh. I mean, Switch, sure. What do I have to say? I could get used to this?
You say switch it.
Switch it.
All right.
Yeah. Got to have some kind of Wario game on there. I'm like a proponent of that game. I know it got kind of, like, I think my review is on the higher end because
Yeah.
I think that game has a lot of weird stuff in it.
JV, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Leave it.
Leave it!
Come on.
Why? Cruel world. Let's see.
Yeah, come on, Curious George's dad.
He's wearing a yellow shirt.
Is he his dad or he just his owner? How does that work?
What do you mean is he his dad? You think his wife gave birth to a goddamn monkey? Oh, sweet lord,
If
no!
only we had someone here who could answer that question.
He's trying to snuff it out in the hospital room. The world can't know.
He isn't mine.
He's part curious. Leo, I'm giving this to you specifically. NES Remix 1 and 2.
Oh,
Switch it or
hilarious.
leave it.
Did I get $100 then?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I'll leave it for sure. Is $50 too much, do you think?
No, I think that's fine.
Is that making it too easy
I
of
mean,
a decision?
I think you guys aren't considering the rest of the world.
No.
So,
Oh, okay.
NES Remix 2, I believe, specifically has the mode where you can play all of the original Super Mario Brothers NES game from right to left instead of left to right, and it will break your brain to try to play the game
that's
that way.
fun.
Yeah,
That's fun.
So switch
That
it.
is cool.
Okay. I'm sorry. You don't have the final call. Let's see. Imran, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE.
Switch it.
Switch it. Hell yeah,
It's a surprisingly
bro.
good game, and like it needed more. It needed more time. It needed more exposure.
Yeah.
Like it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. The little bit I played. They should call it this version like Flat FE though. Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Or flat AF.
Oh, please.
Is that game
No
play-
jokes, everybody. No jokes.
is that playable without the gamepad, or is that like designed to use both screens?
I think you could do it without the gamepad.
Yeah.
I'm trying
It
to
would have to
remember.
be.
I think you need the gamepad to read text messages, but other than that, like you could use a Pro controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Kyle, Paper Mario Color Splash.
Colors. That was the Wii U one.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it to Switch. I never
Switch
played
it?
it. Yeah.
Okay. Would you play it on Switch, you think?
Well, realistically, probably not.
I'm ready for you to get very disappointed and frustrated over that battle system. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. It's the worst battle system I've
It's
ever
almost
seen
like
in
there's
an
a
RPG.
permanent part of our set dedicated to that game.
'cause it's so frustrating. JV, last one. Wonderful 101.
Oh, switch it. Yeah.
Oh,
Feels
really?
like that over Wind Waker.
I just said that to get you mad.
Speaking of getting mad, this
I'm not
is
even a big Wind
outrageous.
Waker fan.
I will say a couple of those are in development, as far as I know.
Ooh.
What the hell are you talking about?
NES
Couple of those
Remix
ports.
1 and 2. Those are the ones.
Okay, I'm
Which
not gonna-
ones, Imran?
Oh, Leo's an interesting question. Which ones?
Ones.
We'll talk about it later.
All right.
I don't know if that's fun for the audience or not. Write in podcast@gameinformer.com. Is that fun when Imran says that kind of
It's
stuff? or
Wii
not?
U ports. Who cares? Like, Nintendo's gonna put
Everyone.
on whatever
Everyone
they
wants
want
a
to put on.
Switch.
All right, Mr. Newsy. Imran, how will I die?
Choking on a banana.
Correct. JV, will you supply the banana? Wink. Brody Nelson from he looks like Curious George. Never mind. Brody Nelson from Bellingham, Washington says, I believe JV has the best voice in the office.
Ooh. It's a good voice.
Thank you.
He probably does.
Okay, that seems fun. Here we go. Joe from London, UK. We were talking about making an Ant-Man game or any game where you like drastically shift within the game from big to small. And Joe from London writes in and says, hey, David O'Reilly's Everything. You could basically do that, which we did not consider. Very good suggestion. That was fun. Harsha from Rochester wants to know, Leo, if you prefer Griftlands or Nowhere Prophet.
Nowhere Profit.
Okay.
But I love them both.
There we go. That's on Steam only, that card game that Leo says is the best.
Yeah, pick Steam or Epic Store on that one, you know? Choose your side.
Brent Johnson from Santa Cruz, California. Go Slugs! Says, hey, GI crew, was just playing Street Fighter 2 on my Switch and thought about how both me and my brother always referred to Dulcim as Daddy Longlegs when we were kids. We likely all have various names for enemies or characters that aren't the official ones, but what's the weirdest personal one you can think of?
We would call invisibility in Halo 1 Invisalign for some reason, like the braces that you put on your teeth.
Did you have those braces at that time?
No, I don't know. We just thought it was really funny to shout Invisalign.
Yeah.
don't know.
It's usually like the multiplayer stuff where
Yeah.
just dumb
We
kind
also, we had a game mode called Nicolas Gage where you just had shotguns and
Right,
Wesley
right.
Snipes and you were doing snipers.
Those were like memes before memes.
Yeah.
I like in Red Faction 1, there's this awesome rocket launcher that like shoots like a nuke. It's just amazing. But it literally takes up like half the screen. That's what I thought of with this question because we always just called it the mother. It was like, mother! It's like that every time it launches. And like literally if you're on the side of the map where that thing hits, you're dead. It's one of my favorite guns. It's just the
Is that what that Jennifer Lawrence movie is about?
Yeah, not many people know that. Anybody else have nicknames? Or you guys all buy the books, fellas?
I mean, anytime I play Monster Hunter and I'm hunting a monster with someone, I feel kind of bad because I just always call all the monsters Big Fucker. But that's about it.
That's good.
Speaking of much, I think I call it the Devil Joe pickle because it's just a big green pickle-shaped thing.
Yeah, I guess everybody calls Basilgeist Beetlejuice as well, right? Or-
Yeah.
He's got to do
Bagel
that.
juice, I think I went.
Yeah.
Bagel juice. That's fun. God, I could go for some of that right now. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Adam from Portland writes in and wants us to play 20 questions because he says he has a good video game. That would be a good 20 questions thing. So you just ask questions and I say yes or no? Is that how this works?
I think so.
Okay. I have the game. Could I get a question?
So you have a game in mind. And
Yes.
okay. Is it on modern consoles?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
Is
keep
it-
track of the amount of questions.
Is it exclusive to a console? Or
I
platform?
believe so.
Is it from this generation?
Yes.
Is it Western made?
Yes, it is Western made.
Okay. Is it a good game?
No.
Okay.
No.
Did BioWare make it?
No.
Okay.
Very important, efficient use of questions. What are we up to, Leo?
6.
Oh my god.
Were you crushed by this game?
No.
Is it science fiction?
I think it might technically count as science fiction.
Okay. Is it like a multiplayer game, like online?
I don't believe so. I believe it's single player only.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if there's multiplayer.
Have we reviewed it?
Yes.
Well,
Did anyone at this table review it?
I don't.
That doesn't narrow it down.
I
very much.
don't know.
Damn. Can that not count? That was a bad question.
I already knocked the tally down.
Was it ever on any of our? Was it a cover? story game?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
Ask about consoles.
Is it a PlayStation 4 exclusive?
No, it is not.
Is it a Switch exclusive?
No, it is not.
Okay. I'm really burning these up.
Is it Sea of Thieves?
No, it's not. What are you up to? Leo?
15.
Is it Gears of War 4?
No,
No,
you
wait, that was
guys
on the
don't-
cover. Damn it.
Throwing these away.
Is it a Microsoft exclusive?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Forza Horizon?
Don't get specific when you don't need to. What are we up to, Leo?
18.
Oh my god.
Is it a shooter?
No, it is not.
All right, Imran. You have the last two. I
Last
think.
one.
Last one. It's not
Before
a
we
shooter. It's a Microsoft exclusive.
Uh-huh.
It's this console generation.
Yep.
It's not good. It's okay. It's
no.
not great.
It's not notoriously
It's
bad.
single player.
I think so.
Oh,
Don't blow it, JB.
If you want it, JB, I can't think of it.
Is it third person?
is it Crackdown 3?
It is. No, it's not. It is third person, but saying person is weird.
That's not helpful.
I think it's like an XCOM or like a strategy or something, probably. Right?
I was thinking Recore for a minute.
That's
yeah. I mean, we're beyond 20. Does that mean we lose?
Yeah. Right into podcastagainforward.com if you think you know what this game is.
Just yelling at Imran for not revealing
Hey,
things.
thank Adam from Portland. That's 20 questions, baby.
All right.
All right,
I'm
Adam.
really upset.
Yeah, you should be. Adam W. If
Just
you're
grab the paper from his hands. And
No,
look.
don't. Come on, be cool.
Is it Halo?
No. Adam W. from Virginia Beach, Virginia says, "Hey there, Ben, Kyle, Leo, Serial, Tack, Jeff." He spelled them all wrong. That's fun. He said, "Hey, Leo's evil twin, OL, has decided to put a curse on Leo and his coworkers as revenge for all the years he had to sit back and watch while Leo had fun gaming on his Mac."
Dang.
Did you hear about this?
Yeah. Matter of time.
In an attempt to weaken you titans of video game journalism, he decides to completely erase all memories of knowledge of games over a 3-year span of your choosing.
Yeah.
What is the most inconsequential 3-year span in your video game history?
0 to 3.
Your video game. Like, we're talking years, right?
I mean,
And I said...
can we go that far back? I
No,
mean,
let's
'cause,
go
like-
from like 97
Okay.
and beyond, to be fair here. Because games used to suck.
2005 to 2007?
Oh, so... okay, when'd you have to go? 8?
Yeah, well,
Wait, what?
3-year span?
2005, 2006, 2007.
Is that the way math works? Okay. All right. Let's see.
97 to 2000.
Shut up.
Why
You
not? I
lose
played
so much.
I
Yeah,
played a
this,
bunch
like,
of dumb
Ocarina of
kids
Time,
games.
Half-Life.
Yeah. 2000. You'd lose like Mass Effect. Was that
I
2007?
thought that was 2008.
Well, you can lose the first one.
Yeah, you can lose the
No,
first one.
you can't. Are you nuts?
You
no
absolutely
way.
can.
That's
As someone
insane.
who has lost the first one.
Yes.
Oh, you don't know what you're missing.
Yes, I do. I played the first couple hours of Mass Effect 1.
First couple hours. Look at this hack.
I have also played
two.
the first couple hours of Mass Effect 1 4 times.
Well, yeah, everybody in the world has played the first couple hours of Mass Effect several times.
That's a tough question. I'd have to kind of like look at the list of.
I think like launch of this generation is pretty weak out of the
Yeah.
gate, right? So I'd go 2012 to, according to JV's math, I go 2012 to 2014, I guess.
Yeah, it's 14. That was the year I remember we were
That
even
was the year that
struggling to
You'd make
officially
Mass
sucked.
Effect 3.
Is that when
Yeah, you're right.
Mordor was like our game of the year?
Yeah.
Because yeah.
Yep.
No, it wasn't. It was
No?
Dragon Age.
Yeah,
Right.
it was when there was debate
that was the
about whether or
debate.
not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
That's tricky. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting one. Hey, Ben, here's a list of recent Game Informer Game of the Year winners and their completion percentages.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Like looking at trophy data, probably.
Yeah, since 2007, what game that's our Game of the Year do you think is the highest? This is a lot of Game Informer trivia here.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
The highest completion.
Can you give us the list of the games?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So starting 2007 here, BioShock, GTA 4, Uncharted 2, Red Dead 1, Skyrim, Mass Effect 3, BioShock Infinite, Last of Us, Destiny, Dragon Age Inquisition, Bloodborne, Witcher 3, Uncharted 4, Overwatch. Wait a minute. Oh, he also includes some nominees.
I was about to say, Destiny was not our.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll skip the nominees here. So Overwatch,
Okay.
Breath of the Wild, and God of War he's not counting because he didn't want to look it up because he didn't want it spoiled.
Okay.
So
It feels-
not Bloodborne
and
and
there's-
not Destiny.
It feels like it'd be one of the Naughty Dogs, right? Like
Yeah,
Uncharted 2 or
Uncharted
Last of Us.
Uncharted 2 especially.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be Uncharted 2, maybe
feel like,
Last of Us.
I feel like if you lock in to play that game, you see it to its end.
Yeah, it is. I would consider like the most important story to finish here.
Yeah.
The entire point of the game is about finishing a story, I'd argue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think people see those games.
No, I'm talking about something else.
I'm
though.
going to guess Bioshock. That's my thought.
BioShock, the original, 39% have completed it. Mass Effect 3, 45%. That's the highest.
Really?
Yep. Uncharted 2 is 43%. Let's see. Lowest is, as everybody could guess, GTA 4.
Overwatch.
That
Yeah, well, Overwatch is tricky, right?
GTA 4 actually does not surprise me.
GTA 4 is
Those games are
15%.
huge. Yeah.
I mean, I love that game, but it's like 40 hours long.
Yeah.
like
to get to the finish
I really
line.
like. Yeah, it's an effort to beat any Rockstar game for
Oh,
sure.
I think
yeah.
I stopped the last mission of GTA 4.
Oh, it's a good last mission.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is, but that beach part where if you die on the motorcycle, you start off like an hour before that.
You have to make a tricky jump.
If you die
right?
on the what?
On the beach part where you're on the motorcycle.
Oh, the motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's interesting, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you saying that because you've never gotten that far?
Oh, no reason. You guys ready to guess some gaming haikus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Kevin from West Hartford, Connecticut. He says, hello, beautiful Ben and the Dantac Whack Pack. I hadn't read that before. That's very funny. You mentioned on your last podcast that you have only ever received 1 or 2 poems, and in the past you have mentioned that you want more games on the show. So here is Guess That Game Haiku Edition. So this haiku is a description of a game.
Yeah, it's too bad Cork's not here. That's
I know,
like
he
his jam.
loves haikus. And anagrams. He's such a weird word guy, isn't he? Yeah.
I think you can just remove word
Yeah.
from that description.
Yeah, his last name's a noun, so
That's true.
it's weird.
And
And a verb. Oh,
All right.
wow. Bucket list item to be a part of that. Thank you.
The game of its year. Redefined open world games. Oh crap, it's raining.
Breath of the
Breath of the
Wild.
Wild.
Correct.
Yeah.
I
Four,
was there first.
Yeah.
four armies at war. Birthplace of many great games. Save the big old tree.
Ocarina of Time.
That's a shooter, right?
4 armies at war. Birthplace of many great games. Save the big old
Dragon
tree.
Quest Hero, the
It was
Blight
on our
Below.
cover last year.
On our cover last year.
On our cover last year.
Yeah.
4 armies?
It's one of your least favorite genres, I would hazard to guess, Kyle.
Yeah, probably. I'm like, because I'm thinking like a Fire Emblem or something, but I don't. Those never on our cover.
Birth-
Oh, what was that Blizzard game?
Warcraft remake?
There we go. Warcraft
Yes.
3, ladies and gentlemen. The final
Yeah.
mission is it's a big tree, like defense
Oh,
thing. Oh, I guess. One of the greatest.
Okay.
The dark. Oh, whoops. I was fixing a magic. Iconic party members. Time travel is key.
Chrono Trigger.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is a series. Oh boy, unlimited ammo
Devil May Cry.
Metal Gear Solid.
in the first, but not the rest.
Weird.
Second game, the gem.
Second game, the gem.
Unlimited ammo in the first, but not the rest. Second game, the gem.
Huh. Well, it's certainly not Devil May Cry.
Come on, JV.
Man, I don't know.
Oh, I'm supposed to know this?
Yeah.
Mass Effect?
Yeah, there we go.
Is
Unlimited ammo? I haven't played
Oh,
the
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like the heat system.
Is that what I'm-
that's not a...
Is that what I'm missing out on? Is that what me and Leo are missing out
I'm
on?
really upset by that.
Yeah, you're really missing out on a lot. Okay, here we go. Fight the metal giant. Landing is always hardest. Jumping boots still rule.
Jumping boot.
I think of like Portal when I think of that because you have those like
Uh-huh.
boots that are supposed to
Yeah.
limit fall damage.
Pilot Wing 64. That's
Yeah,
tricky.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
tricky.
I never unlocked the jumping boots. That always bummed me out.
Yeah, I should go back and try and give that game a shot because I rented it when I was a kid. I had
Yeah.
no idea what was happening. I wonder if it's
What is the
hard.
metal giant part of that?
Let's see.
I think there's like one walking around the area.
I guess
or
so.
something.
Gyrocopter levels had you shoot missiles at a robot.
That
Apparently.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you
Kevin-
get boots on the bottom of your plane or what?
Yeah,
it was like
the
one of
plane
the
can run around on the ground. Tick, 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 tick.
and one of the vehicles you unlocked were these boots, and it let you jump across their sort of makeshift United States.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe I should get that Pilot Wings Resort. Think that would be fun to go play again?
I didn't like that.
Okay. That's Kevin from West Hartford, Connecticut. Congratulations, or I should just say thank you for writing in. Email of the week. What do you guys like?
I like to switch it.
Really?
Yeah, that game was pretty fun.
Okay, we modified the rules a fair amount, but all right.
And all of us made like at least $50. Which
Yeah,
was
that's
fun.
true. All right, I'll go with Switch It.
Yeah.
I like the one about the completion percentages. Thought that was interesting.
That
yeah,
is
that was
interesting.
interesting. Also, there's a slight wrinkle here where the Switch It, I didn't copy and paste their name, but I could fix that by going up and checking real quick. Should I do
Switch
that?
it, yeah.
All right, I'm going to cut here. I'll go find that name. Hang on.
Oh.
This will be 20 seconds, I promise.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, you're gonna look at that game. Look what that game was.
Yeah, look what the game was.
Look what the game was.
Look what the game was.
JV, look what the game was.
Look what the game was, JV.
The 20 questions game.
JV, I'm begging you.
Hey, give me the other sheets. I'll look. Oh.
Oh my god. His notes are so...
He's gonna be so mad.
Okay. I don't understand. What if it doesn't exist?
It's all made up.
It was all a lie. Here it comes.
21, 22, 23.
What'd you see? You didn't find secrets, did you?
No, we were trying to, honestly, we were trying to find the 20 questions game. We couldn't find
Oh,
it.
yeah. Oh, really? Oh, of course. All right, looks like the email of the week goes to Butts, according to what somebody wrote on my notes
Final
here.
Fantasy 6?
Yeah, 5. To give him his respect.
Sorry.
It is Brody from Ohio.
Hey!
Congratulations.
Hey, Brody, congrats.
That was the Switch It person. We went and looked it up. Congratulations, Brody. Leo, do we have anybody from Ohio on the big board at this point?
We have Scott Campbell from Post Falls, Idaho.
Good to know. Congratulations, Ohio, going up on the big board. Very exciting. Brody, you rule, buddy. Podcast@gameformer.com. Write in with anything you want in the future, anything that makes the show better. The last interesting thing you learned about a game or a game's development. I think that's a good broad category, right?
Yeah.
Next week's show is going to be poppin'. Speaking of poppin', we have an interview with PUBG's world art director coming up next, talking about designing and kind of reinventing that original beloved map and just overall what it's like to work at a PUBG studio in Madison, Wisconsin. Weird deal. And I barely talk about the Wisconsin Dells in this interview, I promise. But hey, here's an interview with Dave. Dave Curd, welcome to the Game Informer Show, sir.
Hi, thanks for having me, Ben.
Absolutely. Where are you right now?
I am in super hot Madison, Wisconsin.
It's the hottest, most wonderful place on earth. There was an offer originally to maybe have you drive out to Game Informer, which is based here in Minneapolis, which was very exciting for me. It's so amazing to me that we are surprisingly close to where so much PUBG development is happening out there.
The Midwest is a hot spot. We got secret stuff happening out here. This is a good place to be. You've got the right idea.
Yeah, you say the Midwest. I mean, realistically, it's like Madison's a hot spot and Chicago's fine.
No comment.
How long have you been working in Madison then in the game industry?
I've been in the game industry 12 years. I've been at PUBG for just over 2 years.
Okay. And you're at Raven before that?
Yeah, I did some time at Raven working on the Call of Duty franchise.
Oh, how do you look back on those days?
Amazing. Like, I learned a lot, met a lot of great developers, was pushed really hard, got to learn a lot of cool stuff. So, yeah, it was a great experience.
I think we just did a cover story not too long ago on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and so we kind of went into the history books a little bit and talked about Marvel Ultimate Alliance's 1's development. We had some folks from Raven, and the big theme of the interview, I think, was just bringing up that like Raven could probably deserves some more attention. It's a little bit frustrating that Activision will never put them fully in the spotlight, at least up to this point. And it's like, God, there's so many talented developers there. I'd imagine you saw it from the inside working their asses off. Is it frustrating, do you think, that Raven doesn't get more love?
I don't know where they're at now, but I really loved the time I had with them. They were all super, super nice.
Yeah. What do you think was the biggest takeaway after spending so much time working on, what do we got, like Modern Warfare 3, Ghost, Blops 2, stuff like that?
Gameplay first. That's all of my time in video games has been in support of the player. And that's something that we look at really hard at PUBG is all the artistic bells and whistles don't mean a thing if FPS isn't fun, if the game isn't performant. So yeah, that's my whole career has been like, how do we make sure it's a fun game?
Yeah. What is your title? Is it just art director for PUBG at this point?
Yeah, so I'm world art director. So what that means is mostly it's conversations. I get to draw sometimes. I get to do a little set dress sometimes, but primarily I'm having conversations with art, design, programming, making sure the maps are all heading in a good direction. Everything's cohesive. Everything's cool.
Yeah. When you walk around the streets of Madison, are you hailed like a hero celebrity over there for working on PUBG?
Absolutely.
Do you get recognized? Do people ask you where you work and then they're like, oh, gee, PUBG, I know that? Or what's like the most common refrain from people?
You're going to hear this from every developer you interview. We always have like the swag. We always have like the little jacket that says PUBG. And people will kind of call you by your name, which is PUBG. So, I'm going to be like in line for pizza and hear, hey, PUBG. And okay, will this be a good or bad interaction? And typically everybody's been great.
Does it say like PUBG dev team though, or do they just think you're a fan?
Well, I think I look too old to like people see me and they're like, yeah, that guy, he's doing something. He can't just love video games, but I love video games. So I hate to be profiled like that. Yeah.
Do you ever get frequently asked questions about your job from random people on the street?
I hear a lot of unsolicited video game ideas.
Oh, any good ones?
Yeah, I mean, I'm making them all, and any idea people tell me goes right into the game. Like,
Jesus Christ,
they've given it up, so I'm putting it in that game.
Smart move overall legally, I think. So okay, redesigning the core map, Erangel, for PUBG. You want to just walk me through the process? How does this work? What direction are you given? How do you implement it? Walk me through the story here.
Well, Ben, the first thing is you get really scary news of, hey, we're going to give a visual update to Erangel. It's kind of the most iconic map. It's the map everyone thinks about when they think PUBG. So, first you vomit, for about 30, 40 minutes. And when you've cleaned yourself up, you think, okay, how do we make sure it's fresh but familiar, it's fun, it's really the first thing I did was I talked to Tessik Jing, who's our executive producer, and, because he was art director back when they made it. And I just wanted to hear from, like, what were his intentions, what were his inspirations, and, talk to everybody else at the company because, we're really flat. We all want to make sure we hear each other. And then just start building a world. You start with reference, you start with research, you start with gameplay intentions, what do we want to improve? What do we want to polish? What do we want to totally remake?
How do they see it, that original art team? Do they look back at that map and be like, boy, that was coming in hot? Or do they see it as a masterpiece that should barely be touched?
No, that map came together very fast. We released in early access. So it was, I think, kind of an incredible accomplishment for the short dev time. But, every map we improve, both in technology and art. So we were always looking back knowing, that's a cool map, but we have to kind of level it up and get it with parity with our other maps.
Sure. Well, here's an impossible question. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with the original PUBG map?
Well, there's art and there's design.
Uh-huh.
So from the design issues, all of our design team is really great at looking at the data. So we look at heat maps and we see what are the areas of the map that should get some more gameplay, but don't quite. It's not getting the love we think it deserves. Also, from a design perspective, we've introduced the ledge grab feature. So how do we show that off? How do we make traversal fun? So that's kind of on the design side. It's pretty easy to see like, hey, Milta Power is kind of an iconic location, but hardly anybody was playing it in the numbers we would expect. So we know right away, let's totally redo that area, right?
Well, hang on. I got to stop you there. Okay, so redo an area. Is the overall idea just to put more loot there and that'll gravitate players towards there more? Or is the expectation like, hey, if we make the art look really pretty, players will start dropping here again?
Oh, neither. Like, loot will certainly drive players, but ultimately, if the layouts aren't fun, there's other places in our map to get loot. So, and art, doesn't really move the needle. I love making art. We want players to feel a nice, cohesive, beautiful experience, but it's always design first. So we went to areas that weren't getting a lot of love and revisited the layouts, just the core design, the core engagement distances, the core flow. So to entice players to check it out.
Did you?
And Ben, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, were you on the drastic end of the spectrum, or were you on the minimalist end of the spectrum for what you wanted to do personally for kind of redesigning these things?
Well, I think for areas that are classic, like Pachinki or school, you really don't have to change a thing other than, removing clutter where things were too visually busy to identify targets, or maybe there's props that we might call ankle biters, right? Like you're walking through a hallway and boom, like, oh, like this little suitcase stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of just sweeping the floors and getting things to flow a little bit nicer. On the other end of the spectrum, with a map, with an area like Milta Power, it's like, yeah, people aren't playing here, so we can go nuts. Let's just make it a cool area with a new flow and new things to explore. And let's get, if players weren't going there before, let's get them excited to check it out now.
Do you worry at all about, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the PUBG community, very passionate. Do you worry at all about changing things too much? And it's like, okay, are we going to have to create a whole separate playlist now where people can technically play the original map a little bit, WoW vanilla style or something?
That's funny. Yeah, it's good to have a passionate base, right? And you can't make something that people love without a few people hating it. That's just, if you shoot down the middle, you don't make anything interesting. So I imagine a couple of players will say, hey, Milta Power was like my favorite location and you guys have ruined my life. And I sincerely apologize, but I'm hoping for the overwhelming majority of players, they're excited to see the meta get refreshed. If the map stayed the same for 100 years, I don't think it would be a very exciting gameplay experience.
Yeah. Okay, so you had no involvement in the creation of the original map. You came in like 2 years ago and just got the ball rolling for all other maps. Is that the general idea?
Yeah, I showed up in Madison. There was already a tiny team here founded by Tessic Jang and Sean Wiederhoft, and they were kicking off Miramar. So I was like, this sounds good. They already have a super fun game, and let's make it look pretty. Like it's been a super fun ride. So yeah, I started on Miramar and have touched everything since then.
Awesome. Is there a lot of former Raven folks at the studio?
We've got a good spectrum. We've got people from all over.
Yeah. How big is the team over there these days?
We've got a bunch. I don't know if I'm allowed to give specifics, but we've got an office crawling with creepy creatives here working their tails off. Okay,
creepy crawlies is the number of developers over there. Is it like the biggest development chunk for PUBG overall at this point, or is Korea still the mothership here?
So we work as kind of one global team. So we have artists and programmers here, and we have a large, huge team in Korea, and we all work together on the same stuff. So I'm flying between here and Seoul a lot. So yeah, Korea still does a lot of development. They are the mothership.
Yeah. What's been your favorite part of visiting Korea?
It is the weirdly safest city I've ever been to, bar none. Like, we have a lot of late nights. When I go to Korea, I'm like, I'm going to work like crazy to make the trip worth it. So I'll get out of the office at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and there's just like cute little old ladies like carrying their groceries home. And like, it's coming from the States. It's kind of shocking how clean and safe Seoul is.
Yeah, it's got to be wild. And I I had a layover in South Korea a couple months ago, and just being in that airport, it was amazing to see all the PUBG merchandise, where it's like, okay, there's some sort of tie-in with some sort of cutesy stuffed animals where they all have frying pans now and stuff like that. It's like, it's really, it's nice that it's a cultural touchstone over there. I think it's nice to have some cultural pride for PUBG.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest. I'm sure someone on the internet can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe it's South Korea's largest game, and it has a massive global footprint. And for me, it's been humbling working on something. Most of my career has been in kind of straight Western development. So to work on a game now that so many players around the world care about, it has been really incredible to see all those different perspectives and get all that different kinds of feedback.
Yeah. So your direction was go back, remaster the map, basically. Are you using the term remaster?
Well, I think visual update, because, on top of the design stuff we talked about earlier, every building model has been updated, every material redone, all the props have been touched, all new terrain, all new sky. So it's, visually, it's insanely overhauled. If you've had a chance to check it out today or in the test server, it's a very different experience than what we were playing the last 2 years.
Interesting. So how do you get attention for a season 4? I feel like that's the core of it, right? I imagine you're not on the marketing team directly, but what conversations does the team have about, like, how do we get some more eyeballs on PUBG? Because season 2, season 1, all those things are exciting, and then at a certain point, it's like, okay, we need an impactful thing for every season. Can you just shed any light on what those discussions are like for how to get more eyeballs on the game?
I think that's a great question, but I don't think it's about getting eyeballs on the game. I think it's really about just continuing to make the game better. Like if we keep improving the experience, if we keep refreshing, if we keep adding, things like ledge grab or jerry can. Now we've got, in this season, we're introducing the turntable and the car radio. We're just always making the game better. And that's naturally going to make players come check out what's going on. We release Aftermath. We have new missions, of course, new co-op missions, which is new, the ability to trade missions if you find one you don't like, and just that progression tree to unlock cool cosmetics. I think there's just a lot of players that are like always excited to see what kind of new pants they can find.
Yeah. So overall, for this wave, the kind of season 4 wave of development, do you have a favorite moment, favorite detail, favorite working day where like, oh, this was the most fun part of this?
It's always launch day. It's always watching the streamers enjoy it. It's kind of checking Twitter. It's seeing how the people receive it, because you never look too far in the future. You just kind of focus in the moment. In terms of development, really just seeing the collaboration between North America and Korea. It's almost like we're working on the game 24/7 because of the time zones. So we're checking in art. They're immediately checking it out. We're constantly churning. We're constantly talking. It's just been super fun to work in this way. It's like really exciting because you can always kind of check your phone day or night and see like a new cool thing to look at.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, the season 4 trailer, where it seems like it's starting to introduce some lore. How does that affect your job?
It's good. It's good. We're all storytellers. We all want to make compelling experiences, and and we're all big fans in show don't tell, right? So we love making content, whether it's a trailer or whether it's the moment-to-moment gameplay in the map, and letting kind of players discover it, and players jump on YouTube or Twitch and talk about, what they've discovered and what they think it means.
Okay, so you're including some kind of lore, Easter eggs, and details in the new version of the map. Like, statues have been changed. Is there a lore Bible that you're working off of to kind of plant those little Easter eggs?
I'm going to say show, don't tell. Like, players get in there and unlock the secrets.
The catch with podcasting, though, Dave, is it's kind of tell, don't show. That's the twist.
Oh, no! Okay, can I speak directly to the people?
Please.
I need you to minimize your window and launch PUBG and get the latest update.
Okay, no, I'm not asking, you don't have to divulge the secrets of this. I'm just wondering, development-wise, is it literally do you get a lore Bible without revealing what that Bible is that says, here are the major themes we're working with, any way the art team can kind of trickle in these details would be great?
Well, as we discussed, Ben, just off camera, there is a person with a frying pan kind of ready to ice me. So I would love to help you, but I don't want a head injury.
Okay.
I think this is very unfair.
Just, do you know, is there a lore Bible for PUBG?
I can't. He's
You
right
can't
over
say
me.
if there's a Bible? But there has to
Dang
be.
it. You'll never hit gold with me, Ben. You'll never hit gold.
That's insane. Okay, so what about Mr. Man in the trailer where he's like, welcome to my battlegrounds? Is it fair to say that man canonically is called Player Unknown?
I'm not at liberty to say. We put it out there so that the people can discuss. Hey, let me tell you, is it
Please.
more fun to watch a David Lynch film or read a script? And his
Oh.
scripts are incredible.
Look, I completely agree. That's why I'm not asking for the details and for you to reveal any of the lore details. I just want you to confirm that, yes, there is a lore Bible without any details in there. I'm talking about the cover of the book, not the contents.
You'll never get that information from me, Ben. Absolutely.
Why? That's insane. Why would I confirm that?
You'll never confirm it. I cannot confirm or deny it.
Okay, but fair to say there are now Easter eggs on the map that people will have a fun time trying to uncover.
Oh, absolutely. Play the game. There's cool shit in there. Absolutely.
Okay, all right, there we go. Cool in game. Got it. Can you talk about, since you're there since Miramar, can you talk about just the design philosophy for the maps overall for PUBG? What do you think are like the big do's and don'ts for PUBG maps?
At the high level, it's do you make good, don't make bad. But in terms of getting specific, every map has to have a story in terms of user experience, right? So Miramar was kind of very high tension. We had a lot of cavernous cities, a lot of open windows, a lot of barren terrain. So you always felt like people were watching you. We made the terrain pretty rocky and savage so that when you're kind of on your vehicles, it's tough to get around. So that was kind of the intention there. With Sandhawk, we definitely wanted something really fun, really casual, really exciting. So there was like fast circles, lots of SMGs, a lot of super basic structures, 1 and 2 story. We wanted to keep players moving. Vikendi, really kind of best of both worlds, kind of somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit more deliberate, but we introduced footsteps for like footprint tracking for cat and mouse gameplay. And now with the remaster, or the visual update rather, it's fresh but familiar, meaning like Erangel played great, it's still popular, it still has a really high pick rate, but how can we like tweak it to make fans excited to get back in there and try it?
Yeah. Any other just broad themes? Do you have like pillars of design? Like every map needs to have, I don't know. So I guess where I'm going with this, let me just spell it out, is on the Black Ops 4 cover story trip we went on, a series you know well, we're talking about the design of the Blackout map. They had an interesting philosophy there at Treyarch where they're like, we realized that designing a Battle Royale map is very difficult. They rebooted it several times, right? And they're like, the core that we came up with is we figured out that we want all the action to happen on an X. So conceptually, they had like an X overlay on the map, and they realized that in the downtime areas in between where those lines are, that's where it's going to be more loose, and you can take your time and explore a little bit more. But all the hot spots, they want to be on an X, and that was the perfect ratio. Do you have any guiding philosophy like that? Have you ever considered that basic idea of like, okay, there's certain distinct lines that we want to have as the hot spots?
Oh, absolutely. We always have philosophies in terms of like we know what the hot drops and the hot spots are going to be before the map comes out. Like, so we know we are very intentionally placing our towns in our unique locations, our schools, our resorts. Those are all laid out in relation to with things like plane paths considered, right? And then we have optimal distances between towns and unique areas. We have optimal distances for small house sets and compounds and even the tiny shacks. And then the other thing that we're speaking of, which is kind of the peaks and valleys, the rhythm of like intense versus downtime, that's also controlled by obviously the circle and the loot. So, that's something we work very closely with design. So from a layout point of view, we understand where things need to go for kind of optimal fun. And then design works with us on loot placement, circle speed, circle damage, that stuff that's always kind of a living conversation until the map goes live. And then as you've seen, it's an evergreen game. So these loot and circle speeds and circle damages can be updated over time to kind of keep the players engaged.
Yeah. What is the first step of designing a map? Is it drawing on a napkin? Are you using Media Molecule's dreams to lay something out? Like, what is the roughest, earliest version of a map in your mind?
The earliest version of the map is the design intention conversation where we figure out what do we want players to feel. Like if they've won or if they've lost, what is their basic gameplay story? And once you have that skeleton of, like I said, maybe high tension or fast and loose, once you have a frame of what you want the players to feel, it's right into scribbling in Photoshop of like, oh, layouts could be like this, island shapes could be like that. We have artists and designers looking at reference of like, where should we put the map? And then we're already thinking about building layouts, like what kind of simple building blockouts can we create to facilitate the design intention?
Yeah. Do you guys are you working off any backlog of Brendan Green ideas at this point for future maps? Or is it like he's off doing his own thing, it's completely separate, and you are just in no man's land now creating new stuff?
Tessik Cheng runs the show. He is an incredibly smart dude. Like I said, when I first started working for him, he was art director, and now he is kind of really helping guide the ship. And we all work together on, what we think the fans want, what we're reading, because we're always aware of what our players are into. And we're on our own.
So he's the one that's volleying out there like, okay, let's go with like a Mediterranean vibe for this one, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all conversations. I mean, that's like what's really unusual about PUBG compared to a lot of kind of traditional Western development is it's super duper flat. So a good idea can come from anywhere. We all kind of consider it and have conversations. And Tessik's the guy, like, love him. But, he's making sure all of our voices are heard and trying to deliver the best experience for our fans.
Yeah. Okay, not talking about new Easter eggs, but do you have a favorite detail in any of the maps that you've designed from the past? Like just a favorite bit of text you've included there, or just something very personal that you slipped into a map?
It's not too secret, but I really enjoyed set dressing in Sandhawk, the commercial building full of the spooky mannequins.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was like day one on Twitch. We're getting Choco Taco, like getting jump scared, from the man. So we do. And there's if when you play today, when you play the visual update, we've got these new chubby, creepy little baby dolls kind of scattered around the map, which when you're hearing the footsteps and someone's turned on the turntable, so there's like loud Russian music playing, and you like turn that corner, there's like this fat little monster baby. We've seen, in playtest, we've seen people become very upset.
Interesting. And the baby is modeled after Mr. Player Unknown, lore-wise, when he was a baby on the island. Is that correct?
No, they were using my baby photos.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
The Korean artists were looking for like fattest baby, and I was like, hey, I got your reference. I got to just get home.
Oh, that's sweet. Anything else you want to share? I'm curious, is it your favorite moment at the studio overall so far? It's got to be a wild ride for these 2 years.
It's been really intense. The favorite moments are always launch day. Like the whole studio takes a breath. We open Twitch, we watch streams, we read magazines, read journalists, and get the response, and it's kind of like all worth it. Like this is why we do it. We do it to make people happy. This is a global game. It's got a huge reach, and it's just from the heart, dude. It feels so good when it lands and people enjoy the experience.
Yeah, for sure. Last question I have for you is, when was the last time you went to the Wisconsin Dells?
Oh, I went to the casino up in the Dells a couple of years ago on a party bus for a birthday. Ooh. And I won $1,400.
Holy God! Did you then go to the Dells and actually spend it on dumb kitschy stuff?
Yeah. It then went all into like knickknacks. Just my whole fortune was now on my tables at home. Tchotchkes.
I've been raving about the Dells too much lately, but I just was there the last weekend. The best. One of my favorite places on earth. It's the best underrepresented place for just a good ass vacation. You got the water parks. You have 1,000 activities. Everything's cheap. Parking's great. What more do you want?
I think we should get you in contact with the Dells Chamber of Commerce, and like we should put together an ad like PUBG, Dells, Game Informer. Like, let's make it happen. Dude.
Hang on. They have a bunch of crappy like laser tag and paintball there. You could have an officially licensed PUBG attraction at the Wisconsin Dells. if you need someone to write that attraction for you or design it, I could not be more into something.
Well, Ben, like we discussed with my unsolicited game ideas, I will actually directly be taking your idea to the Chamber of Commerce. This is more of a solo venture.
Great.
Unfortunately.
And if you could nail it on the door, I'd really appreciate it because it's going to be thorough.
It's going to be awesome.
Okay.
It's going to be awesome.
Okay, good to hear. Well, hey, thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate your time, man.
Thank you so much for your time, Ben. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show podcast. Be sure to tune in next Thursday. We'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.